Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the June 6th, 2024 regular meeting of the Enlarged City School District of Middletown's Board of Education. Take this time to first read the disclaimer, and then we'll go forward from there. This agenda was prepared in advance of tonight's meeting. The final agenda for tonight's meeting is subject to change at the time of the meeting. Any changes will be noted at the time they are made and again after the meeting on the public board minutes, which are available on the district's website. Mr. Estrada, could you please read that in Spanish?
Esta agenda fue preparada antes de la reunión de esta noche. La agenda final para la reunión de esta noche está sujeta a cambios en el momento de la reunión. Cualquier cambio se anotará en el momento en que se realice y nuevamente después de la reunión en las actas de la Junta Pública que están disponibles en el sitio web del distrito.
Thank you, sir. I now call this meeting to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Curtis Redd. Do you have any? I'm sorry, say that again? Oh, I'm sorry. They got me the wrong one up. Give me 1 moment, please. I'm sorry, I said June 6th, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay. They had the wrong meeting up on my screen.
He didn't want to say goodbye to Paula today. So.
I'm way behind. Okay. Where is it? I'm not seeing a June 18th. Oh, thank you. Okay, I don't remember. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go right here by this until they get me up. That's fine. All right. So excuse me. Tuesday, June 18th, regular meeting of the Enlarged City School District. I call that meeting to order. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance by Mrs. Blumenau, followed by a moment of silence. If you could remain standing after that for a moment of silence from Mr. Perino, please. Let us stand. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing for just a moment.
Thank you, President Williams. This moment of silence this evening is for Maria Blakesley. Maria Blakesley, the grandmother of Lauren Burr. Lauren Burr is the Director of Food Services in our district. Maria migrated from Italy at an early age. She received a degree in nursing from Orange County Community College, and she served in a number of capacities in the health services industry, also a private duty nurse, very hard-working individual, according to all reports. And if I may, Maria enjoyed life. She had a beautiful laugh and a friendly smile for everyone she met. She cared for all her patients with warmth and kindness, like they were family. Maria received a certificate from the state of New York, being a top nurse in New York State. So please remember Maria Blakesley and her thoughts and your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perino. If you could also please help us with the mission of the Enlarged City School District of Middletown.
Thank you. We strive to provide fiscally sound education opportunities in a safe environment that continuously supports our diverse student population. We will enable all students to graduate, to reach their full potential, to become lifelong learners, and be competitive and productive members of society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Roll call. Mrs. Moncherie, please.
Mrs. Blumenau?
Here.
Mr. Estrada?
Here.
Mr. Perino?
Here.
Mr. Rett?
Here.
Ms. Tobiasen? Here. Mr. Freddie Williams. Here. Pastor Williams.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell Williams.
Here.
Thank you. Moving on to I need a motion for the approval of our agenda tonight.
So move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Perino, seconded by Mr. Freddie Williams. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Now I entertain a motion for the approval of the regular meetings minutes from our June 6th meeting, 2024. Thank you. Moved by Mr. Estrada, seconded by Mrs. Blumenauer. Any discussion? Seeing,
I think Mrs. Blumenauer should make the motion.
I would stand in agreement with that. Seeing we've had discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It so passes. Thank you. Moving on to our action items. Action item A, approval of personnel memorandum 22A, number 1, administrative. May I have a motion, please?
So move on that.
Moved by Mr. Perino, seconded by Mr. Bison. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Thank you. I need a motion now for the approval of personnel memorandums 22B, numbers 1 through 17, instructional.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Mitchell Williams, seconded by Mrs. Blumenauer. Any discussion here?
If we can just get a brief explanation on our liability reserve. How much do we have in there, do we know?
And right now, not much, because we're transferring in and not keeping a big balance in there.
Okay, were we planning for the next budget season to add to it or no? Okay, thanks.
All right. We've had the discussion?
It's the last board meeting of the year.
It's the heat. It's the heat. I was wondering why you were asking that question at this particular moment. That's a good, okay. He's way ahead. He's way ahead of the curve. Okay. That's all right. We excuse you. I needed an excuse at the beginning. Okay, we've had the discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It so passes. Thank you. Now moving on to action item C, approval of personnel memorandums 22C, numbers 1 through 12, non-instructional.
So move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Rhett, seconded by Mr. Mitchell Williams. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Now we move on to action item D, approval of financial memorandum 20D, numbers 1 through 22.
So move on that.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Estrada, seconded by Mr. Perino. Any discussion here?
Yes.
Yes.
I am abstaining I'm voting yes on everything except for financial memorandum 20D, which I will be abstaining from because I have a personal interest. Which number in 20D? 12.
All right. Any other discussion? Yes, ma'am.
My concern is number 22, but I,
Is your mic on?
it's a tax certiorari.
Turn your mic
Oh,
on.
Sorry. My concern is number 22. I know it's a tax certiorari, but I'm still upset that it was approved by the attorneys.
All right. Any other discussion on these?
John? Bishop Williams?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing that I say at some other meetings.
Please.
You know, we go through these for the new people here who have not been here. It seems we're going through these very quickly, which we are, but we have material for 10 days, 2 weeks, backup material, and we're allowed to ask any questions we want. So when we go through these, it doesn't mean we haven't studied them. A lot of effort goes into this. So just what I wanted to say, Bishop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perino. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Thank you. Moving on, action item E, approval of special services memorandum 19E, numbers 1 and 2. May I have a motion, please?
So move on that.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Perino, seconded by Mr. Rhett. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Action item F, we have no change orders at this time. So we'll move on to action item G. I need a motion for the approval of the MOA with Middletown School Nurses Association.
So moved.
Move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Bison, seconded by Mrs. Blumenau. Any discussion here? I'm sorry.
No, the only thing I want to say, and I'm sure we all agree on this, as a very hard-working group of people.
Absolutely.
They're very valuable to this district.
Absolutely, we stand in agreement. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Thank you. Action item H, approval of Town of Walk Hill SRO contract 2024 through 2025.
So move.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mitchell Williams, seconded by Mr. Bison. Any discussion here?
Yes. Can you give a brief understanding of what that's all about?
Superintendent Creedon?
Sure. This is the contractual agreement between the district and the town of Walk Hill for school resource officer coverage services for the 24-25 school year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do this every year, and I think we approved Middletown's contract the last meeting. So any other discussion here?
I'd like to just say thank you to our partners in safety, the Middletown City School District and the town of Walk Hill, the Middletown Police Department and the town of Walk Hill Police Department. Thank you for your partnership.
Absolutely. It's a valuable partnership that we've had with both agencies over the last few years, and we're grateful. We're grateful. I think that we all can agree that it's been very successful in this partnership with these particular agencies. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So passes. Thank you. Now, action item I. Approval of amended annual appointments 2023 through 2024.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Blumenau, seconded by Mr. Mitchell Williams. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It so passes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're going to move on now. We endeavor to try, and just for everybody's sake here, we endeavor to try to get through this business part of it and get it over with, so that we can get to the good recognitions that you all are here to be a part of. So we're going to move into that now. Our board member recognitions and community updates. Up first, recognitions, Mr. Perino, Elks Pancake Breakfast volunteers. Could you please take this portion?
Okay. Chief Slingerland, will you approach the podium? Maybe some of your cadets can start coming up.
There we go.
Just before you start, I want to acknowledge Mr. Mitchell Williams is going to be leaving the meeting shortly because he won't be here for the whole meeting, because he's going to be honored tonight by the town of Middletown at City Hall. And I know he didn't expect me to say anything, but I wanted to make that acknowledgement. I want to make that acknowledgement for all of your hard work that you do, not just for the district, but throughout the community. So we want to say congratulations to you. We didn't want you to go out the door without us saying congratulations to you, my brother. So.
Thank you, and thank everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, now back to you.
Kept that quiet, Mitch. I'm glad John brought it up.
Right, good, John.
Yes. Thank you, President Williams. The Corps of Cadets this past year, 3,600 hours of community service, 3,600 hours.
Wow.
At various events. The last event I was involved with the Corps was the decorating of graves at the cemeteries, the Hillside Cemetery and St. Joseph's Cemetery. Also, this coming summer, there are going to be 5 cadets who are going to attend the NJOTC Leadership Academy. Any of the cadets in the audience this evening? Anyone who's going to attend?
Raise your hands. You're
Raise your
back
hand.
there.
Come on. Don't be bashful. It's a leadership academy and sail training for 2 weeks in Newport, Rhode Island. So that's great. The only sailing I've ever done, I tipped over a canoe in a lake, I think, and that's it. So, but without any further delay, I'm going to have Chief Slingerland, who's doing a wonderful job. And Chief was one of my first students, correct?
That's right.
And you were a good student, right?
Yes,
There you go.
absolutely.
Okay, why don't you call the names and we'll hand
got
those
it.
out.
You got it. Cadet Genesis Campos, front and center.
Congratulations.
Cadet Roxana Clausen.
Roxana, nice job as usual. Thank you.
Cadet Magali De La Rosa Cuenca. And these cadets that are in their Navy JROTC shirts, they've already turned their uniforms in because they're graduating this year, so. Cadet Logan Eisenberg. Cadet Anthony Gonzalez.
You look sharp, man. Good.
Cadet Andrew Gray.
Nice job, man.
Cadet Amalia Gross.
There you go. Good job. Who was that? You?
Cadet Xavier Hall.
Hi, Xavier. Thank you.
Cadet Destiny Harriet.
Nice job, Destiny.
Cadet Cassidy May Hogg. Cadet Hazley Lopez.
Good work, Nathan.
Cadet Alice Martinez, who could not be here tonight. Cadet Haley McNamara.
Oh, yeah, one. Good job.
Cadet Liliana Navarro, who could not be here. Cadet DeAndre Olive.
Good work, Deanna. Nice job.
Cadet Janiyah Robinson.
Hey, Janiyah. Always with that nice smile on your face.
Thank you.
Good.
Cadet Alexander Rodriguez.
There you go. Hustled up, right? Looking good.
Cadet Diana Sanchez. Cadet Jonathan Scarpati. Cadet Valerie Valenzuela.
Nice work, Valerie. Sharp.
And last but not least, Raymond Zayas.
You're going in the Navy, you know? Yeah, as an officer. Good for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief. And a big thank you to the cadets and the parents who support them for all your efforts this year. Thank you.
Congratulations. Moving on, recognitions. My brother's keeper, Mr. Donahue. We're going to come and join you. Myself, Vice President Freddie Williams, and Mr. Rett. We're going to come join you at the podium. Come on.
Good evening, Pastor Williams, Superintendent Credent, members of the board, members of the Middletown community. I am humbled to be up here tonight to speak on behalf of my brother's keeper. Unfortunately, Mr. Ken Ward, who is the coordinator, was unable to be here, but I am happy to present in his place, joined with Mr. Freddie Williams, Pastor John Williams, and Mr. Rett, and Dravid, right to my left. Good afternoon. There you go. So we are just so excited. We're going to give you a brief overview. We just capped off another successful year. For those that remember, last year we did earn statewide accreditation as part of the My Brother's Keeper regional networks. So this was our first full year. We started off with a smaller group of young men. They met regularly. Word started building. By the end, we were up around 30 young men. And the highlight really of our year, and I'll let Dravid, when it's his time to talk, speak about it, was our opportunity to go up to the annual My Brother's Keeper Symposium on May 30th in Albany, New York. And we were fortunate enough to bring 26 young men up with us. It was an overnight, so we had the opportunity, we had the opportunity to stay in a hotel. We collectively, as a group, and then we got to attend the symposium on the 30th. So just some brief highlights from the symposium, and I will tell you this, and Dravid and the men behind me will talk about it. It's very hard to capture what happens up at that symposium in pictures and in words, but we're going to do our best. So, just some pictures of some of the 26 young men riding up. This was actually on our way to the symposium in the morning. So these guys got up, and I got to tell you, I told them 5:45 was a wake-up call. There were guys already ready by 5:50. Down in the lobby, we had no problems getting there. So they did a great job on that. This is our group outside the, it was the Empire State Plaza, the convention center. So this is right before we came in. And again, you see how sharp all our young men look. They really kind of showed out. And that was very important to the young men. They were very excited and very happy to do so because we wanted them to know we're showing up. We were the biggest group there representing any school, and we wanted everybody to know who we were. So our guys did very good with that. I'll let Mr. Rett speak a little bit about this slide.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, we have a really great program going on. Just to give a little pre-site, we also went up to Albany in December. We took a group up there for the My Brother's Keepers Trustee program, and these two gentlemen were in preparation for this award, which culminated in June when we went up just recently. Again, I just want to acknowledge the fact that these two young men were inducted into the program. And just to speak to the gentleman on the right, Amir Armstrong. This is his first year here in Middletown High School. And, he just started showing some real good leadership, good qualities. And he stepped right in, and he was able to run through the program, was able to be awarded at the end. The gentleman to the right, the tall guy, making me look small, Yeltsin Cortez. He's an enigma. He's an interesting young man. He started out you know, through peaks and valleys and highs and lows, but he's our longest reigning member of My Brother's Keepers program. And I think everybody can agree, we've seen the development in him as he eventually began to take on some leadership qualities. You know, and so we're really proud of him, and we're looking forward for these two gentlemen to lead the next group of My Brother's Keepers proteges into the next year. So thank you.
And on the next slides, we're going to see some of the pictures actually from the symposium. So just to give you some context, there were more than 1,000 students, parents, educational leaders, advocates, and experts from across the nation that came to Albany for the symposium. There were nationally renowned guest speakers and student educator panels. And again, Dravid will be speaking a little bit more about his experience in those. But just to show you, and again, I don't know if this captures it, but this would be kind of the view onto the main convention floor. And what you don't see is everybody that's to the right and everybody to the left. And it's overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in a good way. The amount of young men. And again, Dravid, I don't want to keep stealing his thunder. I'm going to stop talking about that. We had the opportunity to see Jamel King. He was the keynote speaker talking about financial literacy, good decision-making, and he kind of told his story. And I think that was what was important in connecting to young people. You know, financial literacy is important. This can be a very boring topic. But he related it in kind of his own kind of perspective. And it started out with a dream when he was 8 years old. He wanted to be a millionaire. Wrote it down, and everything he did from that point on was to that end, buying real estate and kind of unlocking those secrets. And I can tell you, again, in the audience, teenagers, I think, especially in this day and age, are a very hard audience to keep their attention. But if there's something that engages them, and that was really what was special, was to see them really kind of getting into it and what they were absorbing, and the kind of the opportunity on the ways back to debrief and talk about some of their experiences and some of their takeaways. I wish I had the audio of this man right here. So he was a breakout session, and just again to give you some context, it was a long day, 8 to 4. And you're in breakout sessions, you're hearing a lot of people talk. So this was the gentleman that actually spoke last. And it was like, okay, so you know, we're gonna go to this and then we'll get on the bus. Can we stop at Chick-fil-A? Like, guys, we're not done yet. And then Mr. Keith L. Howard got up. And I don't have to say, and Javier knows, that entire audience, what they're doing right there, my son told me is swag surfing. I had no idea. He got a bunch of young men from all over the state who did not know each other to lock arms. By the end, they're all talking about MBK, and that right there was the development of a brotherhood and a fraternity, a bunch of guys that did not know each other, that left their friends. That was something really special to watch. That was, for me, I think, and a lot of our young people, really the highlight of the show, of the symposium, and I think that was a special opportunity. But enough about my experiences. I'm going to ask Mr. Javi to come on up and talk about his perspectives on our My Brother's Keeper Symposium and My Brother's Keeper in general.
Hello, my name is Dravid. I'm a junior from Middletown High School, and I joined MBK in March. For the short time I've been a part of MBK, I've had the pleasure of connecting with peers my age and meeting a lot of new people through MBK. When I first saw the symposium, seeing so many people there in the same group, it really makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger than you really are, you know? The speakers were great on how, especially Jamal King and Uncle Keith, on how they shared their experience on the come up, how they got there, and where they started from. And overall, it was a fun experience, and it changed my perspective in a lot of ways. I just want to thank Middletown for the opportunity presented to me. Thank you all. Good night.
I just wanted to say this too, just so all are aware. We also have My Brother's Keepers programs going on in our middle schools, and our plans are to scale it up. So again, we ended with 26. Our goal is to continue that number up, to amplify our experiences, and continue to change outcomes for our young men of color. So without further, I ask, I'm going to continue hogging the mic. So I pass it off to Mr. Freddie Williams.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention the energy and the brotherhood that was created in that center was amazing. It was my first time up. I missed last year. I had another event I had to do, but I'll be making every single one from here on out. It was not only good for the youth, but even us mentors and the men behind me, we learned a lot there as well. And the bus ride was interesting. The conversations of these young ones it's entertaining to say the least. But it was good. It kind of like I retracted back to my teenage years, and we had nothing close to this. And I think it's amazing for the kids, amazing for the district, and just had a great time. Thank you, Mr. Donahue. You steered the ship in a great manner, and Mr. Rhett and Mr. Williams. It was a good time. I look forward to the next one. Thank you.
So let me just say this for those who don't know what MBK is. MBK is My Brother's Keeper. MBK was initiated and started in 2013 by the Obama Foundation. And it was started as an initiative to provide mentorship and leadership qualities and leadership training to young men of color, young men who had come from disadvantaged homes and disadvantaged circumstances and situations. And since 2013, it has grown. New York State happens to be one of the largest MBK programs throughout the entire nation, and we are honored to be a part of this. I think it was around 2014 or 2015 when we as a district were dealing with some things pertaining to disproportionate suspensions and things of that nature, which was common throughout all the nation. It was around that time that we began to hear about the growth of the My Brother's Keeper program throughout the nation, and we found a way to introduce it. I don't say this because it was any one person, but I consider this my pet baby because I love the idea of what we were able to do in this district. We started out by doing it through different funding sources until such time as we came, and I want to thank the administration for fully supporting this program, even helping us as we became grant winners and part of the MBK program. And so this opportunity to be able to go up with these young men, this is not my first time going up. I've been up multiple times to the symposium, but this opportunity this year, the program itself has faced challenges and timing issues and things of that nature, but we strive to be consistent because these young men matter. And the one thing that they need is they need consistency in their life. They need continuity. And so when this came before us, the opportunity to go to the symposium, we wanted to give the young men not just a trip, but an experience. Thought it was important for them to have an experience of being able to go to someplace they've never been before, an opportunity to be able to see, and Javid said it so eloquently, an opportunity to see that he was a part of something that was bigger, that he wasn't just the only one, to see the other young men from all around the state that are part of this brotherhood. And so we were excited to be able to go over. I want to say this, is that I want to commend all 26 of the young men that went. They represented Middletown with great distinction. And I think even though they're not here, I think they deserve applause for that. If you could just applaud with me for these young men. Anybody knows that taking 26 young men someplace away from their normal place and their normal environment, their comfort zones, it could be a challenge. But I have to be honest with you, we had no incidents. And so no incidents. And so we made it up there. We had some time where we had some team building the night before, and then the young men went into the room, and we had no issues at night. I think the only problem is that Mr. Donahue's room and my room were right next to one another, and so every time my door opened, he jumped up, and every time his door opened, I jumped up. But we were there, and I just want to commend everybody that came. I want to thank Mr. Rhett. I want to thank Mr. Donahue. I want to thank Mr. Freddie Williams for going and being a part of the mentoring group or the chaperones as we went up. And again, this is just the beginning of bigger things. We might do it a different way. We might do it the way that it works for Middletown. But I promise you that if we learn how to support our young men, and not just our young men, because we have a great My Sister's Keeper program here as well in Middletown. So we're not just focusing on young men, but we're focusing on young women. All of our young people are valuable, and they deserve the opportunities, and they deserve to see people working and moving in places and positions so that they will know that the sky is the limit for them. The sky is the limit. There's nothing that they can't do. If we, those of us who are adults, those of us who come down through all kinds of different experiences, if we can just be transparent and honest with them and show them the path that's right for them to go. They have to make their own decisions, but we have to be the ones that will show them the path. The Bible says, and I'm not preaching, but I am a preacher. The Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go. And if you didn't want to hear scripture, then you should have never let a preacher get up at the mic. But at the end of the day, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It does not mean that they might not go their own way and make their own decisions, but if you give them a foundation, something to stand on, they'll always know where to come back to and get in line and get back in alignment with what is right to do. And I will end it by saying this. Doing what is right to do, is not a hard thing to do when you've got somebody who's showing you what is the right thing to do. And I want to commend all of the mentors and all of those that have been involved in this program. We're going to continue to grow and continue to move forward. So thank you. Mr. Donahue, again, thank you. You led out the charge for us to go to the symposium.
Pastor, I have
we
a question
appreciate
for
you.
Mr. Donahue.
Yes, please.
Where do you envision the program for this upcoming year? You have a captive audience here. You have a captive audience at home. How do young men get selected for the program? How can community members, if they want to get involved? What's the next step for the MBK program for Middletown next year?
So Mr. Ken Ward is our coordinator, and he's in the district, so he can be reached via email. All of our cohort spaces, if anybody watching is interested in getting their young person associated with our program, they can reach out to any of their cohort principals, their deans, myself. We have, we get members all different ways. Some of it's word of mouth, some of it's recommendations. I've had teachers come to me or deans come to me and say, hey, I think this young man can benefit from this opportunity. So we have all kinds of different ways to access. But if you're asking me what the vision of the program is, and I've always been big on this, whether it was in a football coach, whether it was a social studies department chair, as principal of Middletown High School, this is where we ended this year. So our goal is always to end up next year. So what does that mean? Increasing our offerings, hopefully increasing our membership, increasing our opportunities, increasing our experiences for our young people. That's really what it's about. To get them exposure to a whole host of things. Whether it's going to be visiting a college, whether it's going to a Broadway show, whatever that is, it's looking to increase those opportunities, those experiences, and access for our young people. And that's really what the goal is next year. All right?
Awesome. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, Javid. Appreciate it. I'm going to say this real quick about Javid. One of the things that we noticed about Javid, he was sitting at the table with us, and one thing that we noticed about Javid is just how engaged he was. He was locked in. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted him. From the very beginning to the very end, he was locked in, and that's one of the reasons why we asked him to come and speak, and he did a great job. Good job. All right.
And now I'm going to invite to the podium for the next presentation, Mrs. Driscoll, principal at Maple Hill Elementary School, Mrs. Bowler, instructional leader for humanities at Maple Hill Elementary School in the district, Mrs. Trout, assistant principal at Maple Hill Elementary School, and Mrs. Harris, assistant principal at Maple Hill Elementary School, to talk about how we are amplifying reading and combining it with service projects as agents of change.
I don't need that, it's for you guys. Good evening. Sorry, thank you. So we had sent over a couple of slides. I'm hoping that maybe they have them to put up, but we're here to share with you something called Agents of Change projects. Mrs. Bowler is going to explain a little bit more to you what that's about, and then we'll show you a few examples, and then we have some esteemed guests here tonight to share their project from this year.
Good evening. So before the kids explain their project, we just wanted to tell you a little bit more deeper about the project. In 2022, the district created the K-5 Agents of Change project. The goal for this project is to show our scholars they have power to change the world through their voice and actions, and to prepare our young people for the New York State Seal of Civic Readiness. Agents of Change provide scholars an opportunity to amplify our community-minded spirit and to see themselves as members of the community. Scholars utilize the skills they have honed throughout the year in an authentic and meaningful way by practicing civic engagement to identify a need or problem in their community and plan an impactful project based on this need. We also, as you know, in Middletown, our scholars have the opportunity to graduate with the New York State Seal of Civic Readiness. One of the requirements for this seal is for scholars to create their own capstone project. So we feel that this Agents of Change project is a wonderful opportunity for our scholars to get ready for this seal.
Thank you. So our slides are not up yet, so rather than waiting for those, we're going to go ahead and introduce, this is the third grade team from Maple Hill. We have some scholars as well, so I'd like to invite our scholars and our teachers to come over. Huh? Yeah. Oh, you're going to talk here? I thought you were going over there.
We're going to come up this way. All right, we're going to come stand right up here so everybody can see us, okay? Right up here. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Sorry, that was really loud. Good evening. We are the third grade team at Maple Hill Elementary, and we are here this evening to tell you about our Agents of Change project. Now, I could go on about our amazing third grade scholars and their incredible project, but let's be honest, no one wants to hear me talk. So, without further ado, allow me to hand over the mic to our wonderful students.
We were challenged to solve a problem at Maple Hill Elementary School. And that problem is no one has access to books over the summer to be able to read. And middies love to read. We made a little free book house to help our community.
This will impact the community by giving children the ability to read a book and put a book in they love. Anyone in Middletown is welcome to come to our little free book house.
Ven a visitar este pequeño biblioteca. A los middies les encantan a leer. Here is a video we put together with the help of the amazing technology team to show you our little free library. Please roll the video.
We are Agents of Change. An agent of change is a person that wants to make a difference in the world. Our third grade wants to help our community. Because minis love to read. We want students to have access to books.
Welcome
To our Little Free Library at Maple Hill Elementary. This is our Little Free Library. Students can come anytime they want and any day if they want.
We are agents of change. We are donating this free little library to our community. Bring or borrow a book, it's for our community. Esta es nuestra chiquita biblioteca.
Trae o presta un libro.
Eso es para nuestra comunidad.
Mickey les encanta leer. Our custodians, Mr. Chris and Mr. Glenn,
Took our vision and built a little free library.
and our teacher, Miss Pilla, painted it for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chris, Mr. Glenn, and Mrs. Pilla.
We would like to take this opportunity to thank our custodians, Mr. Glenn and Mr. Chris, who took our vision and made it a reality. They came in on their own time, including over the weekends, to help us make our dreams come true. We could not have done this without their help. Mr. Chris, to show you our appreciation, we would like to give you this thank you card signed by the intern, third grade, and this golden hammer. Thank you and good night.
I just want to make sure that we amplify that, our educators, our administrators, our buildings and grounds crew, certainly do have work hours here, but many a times the work extends far beyond the reach of what a traditional workday includes. And we cannot extend our appreciation enough. In this case, this magical team here came together and led by some wonderful people from our buildings and grounds crew came in on their own time and used their own resources well after the contractual day to help these young people be agents of change in this community. And it is far reaching, the impact of this type of a service project, something I'm sure that not only the adults, but the young people will remember for a very long time to come. So thank you very much.
The Little Free Library has been very busy since it opened, and we just want to make sure that we encourage everybody to stop by Maple Hill and put your books that you're done with in there, and people can stop by all summer and help themselves to more reading material. So we're very excited. Mr. Chris, congratulations on your golden hammer. Can't wait to see what you do next. I also want to recognize Mr. Glenn Brinkerhoff, who couldn't be with us tonight. He was another one who helped a lot with the project. And thank you to the third grade team. Amazing, amazing job. We have a few slides up here of previous projects just to give everyone an idea. This Agents of Change, they do some really cool stuff. So a couple of years ago, this was a collaborative project between kindergarten and fifth graders where they created motivational messages that people could scan those QR codes and then they could choose if they wanted to hear a kindergartner giving them a motivational message or a fifth grader if you're having a bad day, and they had different themes. It was really sweet. So that was a fun one. And then there's just there's one there, I think, for a a first grade class that made cards to raise money for an animal shelter. So every year they're coming up with some kind of creative way to get the kids involved in doing something good for the community. Sometimes they work as a grade level, other times teachers may choose to work and do projects in individual teams, but they always come up with really creative and amazing things. So thank you to the curriculum writers who put that in our curriculum, led by Mrs. Bowler a couple of years ago. It's been really amazing. So thank you so much for sharing in that with us
I
tonight.
think you can advance the slides to show some of your other projects.
I can?
Yep, up there they go. They're doing it for you. They're
There you
doing it
go.
for you.
There's only a couple. There's one more this is the fourth grade this year. I forgot about this one. This was words of positivity. So all of the Post-its were written by fourth graders, and they're all positive messages, and kids could walk by and pull them off of the bulletin board and put them in their pocket and take them with them. It's already been emptied since last week, so they're refilling it. And then here's some pictures from the ribbon cutting at the little free library in front of Maple Hill. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, third grade team, amazing. And thank you, boys and girls, great job.
Now we want to invite Mr. Coates to come on up. We had a wonderful senior recognition picnic today, and Mr. Coates is going to share a little bit about the athlete's success.
Man, that's a tough act to follow. I'm going to try. We're going to try. We did have an amazing day today, also an amazing year. Behind me, you see David Hoagland, Adriana Sanan, Janiyah Robinson, and Aaron Williams. They are some of the award recipients tonight or today that they received this afternoon at our senior sports picnic. It was an amazing year. We had so many amazing accomplishments this year, and all the credit in the world goes to the kids, our student athletes, our coaches who did yeoman's work this year, and we're going to go through some of the stats now. We had, first and foremost, we had 17 scholar athlete teams this year. That's an all-time record for Middletown. We set that mark a few years ago, 17 this year. We have 22 college-bound athletes going on to college athletics, which we all know that is a tremendous drop-off from high school, which you all know, going from high school to college athletics. I don't care what division, junior college, prep school, there is a tremendous drop. We have 22 of those this year. Congratulations to those. We're going to see some of those in a few minutes. Teams, we had multiple division winners. We had multiple OCIA winning teams. We had multiple Section 9 winning teams this year. Individual, we had multiple OCIA champions, multiple Section 9 champions, multiple Section 9 or New York State Public High School qualifiers. We had a New York State champion. We have All-Americans, and we also have a national champion. So that's some of our team and individual accomplishments. So this 23-24 school year was amazing for us, and the group speaks for itself. And I talked to them today. It was really, we had a great time at the picnic, and we kind of talked a little bit about our Wall of Fame because we're up in our first year. But this group, I can stand here and tell you that this group in 2034, when they are eligible, there'll be multiple qualifiers and candidates that will be in our Wall of Fame from this 24 class. Amazing. So, Superintendent Creedon, President Williams, members of the Board of Education, I would like to present to you the Senior Athletic Awards that we did this afternoon. But I'd like to preface this a little bit with the understanding that all of our coaches have input. fall, winter, spring head coaches, along with the athletic department and select group of our administration that gets involved in the nomination process. And then through that, we kind of go through a voting procedure that we've been pretty consistent over the years to get to our final. It's hard to do this when you have such a special class, but we have all of our award winners here this evening. Not here this evening. I think we were competing with a party out there tonight, so it's a little difficult. But all of our awards are we have pretty much 6 pillars that we we're not going to talk about every one of our awards and all the criteria around it. We're just going to show you who won. But they're really focused on number 1, academics, number 2, leadership, number 3, sportsmanship, 4, perseverance, 5, community service, and number 6 is obviously athletic achievement. And you'll see through the course of the presentation, you'll see how well, and some of the athletes that will be presented tonight, they epitomize all of this. And it was pretty easy when we were doing the awards, it became evident who was going to receive them. So I'd like to kind of go through the awards here and kind of show you our Army Reserve was Amaya Ramakasoon and Kenyate Medina. We have our USMC Distinguished Athlete Award was Angelita Cavallero and Bryson Tibbs. Superintendent's Team Sportsmanship Award went to our varsity tennis team and our varsity boys wrestling team. The City of Middletown Mayor's Award went to David Hoagland, who's behind me, and Adriana Sanan. The Leonard Catelli Memorial Scholarship went to Kyle Scott. The Joseph Prosciutto Midi Pride Award went to our administrative assistant in the athletic department, Tammy Walter. Well deserved. And our MHS Athletic Perseverance Award went to Ramon Alexander, a really good football player. The Kyle Keys Memorial Award went to Jacob Roger. We celebrated our OCIA Scholar Athletes from Cameron Wiley and Caitlin Eisentrout. Our Varsity Captain Award is Giovanni Bauernfeind and Brianna Arias Rodriguez. Our MAC Awards were Vivian Lamb and Calvin Perez. The Jean Lawrence Sportsmanship Award went to Stephanie Augusto and Jean Franco Deval. And our Retired Midi Flags Award went to Kaylee Matus, Randy Fernandez, Jacob Rodriguez, and Diego Ruiz. The Team TISA Award went to Janiyah Robinson, here, Ramir Bradley. Our Fowler Awards went to Simone Crump and Aaron Williams. And I have to say, our Fowler Award and our next 2 awards, those are our highest honors in the athletic department. It goes without saying with Fowler, if you have Fowler in your award, you're doing some pretty good stuff. And our Senior Athlete Awards this year went to Sierra DiGiorgio and Stephen Munchery. Just a little bit, obviously we know Stephen, national champion, state champion, Sierra DiGiorgio, the first female quarterback to actually take a snap in New York State and maybe even the country in a AA level. So, and an outstanding softball player in her own right. Absolutely. But I'd like to go through and just quickly, just so you can see where our college-bound athletes are going. So obviously we had 22 college-bound athletes this year, and it's a tremendous accomplishment on any level. First, we have going to Norwich University, Caitlin Eisentrout, going to Norwich for lacrosse, and we kind of got her already. Bryson Tibbs going to SUNY Cortland for wrestling. They got a steal there. We want his resume when he's done. Hansel Ruiz Garcia is going to Elmira College for soccer. Randy Fernandez is going to King's College for football. Kyle Scott's going to Southern Connecticut for football. Jada Santiago's going to Edgewood all the way out in Wisconsin for lacrosse. Elijah George is Alfred State for football. Brianna Cordero going to SUNY Binghamton for diving. Ramiro Bradley's going to Castleton for wrestling and football. David Hoagland going to Mount St. Vincent for golf. An amazing year in golf. Christina Oquendo going to Mount St. Mary College for cheerleading. Ramon Alexander going to King's College for football. Aaron Williams going to Dominican University for track and field. I want to be a Charger. And Stephen Munchery going to Appalachian State for University for wrestling, Division I scholarship. And we did have a few camera shy, but I definitely would like to present to you. Calvin Perez is going to East Stroudsburg for football. Jean Franco Duval is going to go to Dominican University with Aaron. Sydney Benware is off to St. Thomas Aquinas. Isaiah Dorsley, West Virginia State for track and field. Jared Howell's going to East Coast Prep for football. Isaac Morband, fantastic story, going to Monroe College for track and field. Ryan Noley's going to Mount St. Mary College for track. And Zamir Seabury's going to King's College, which is getting a bumper crop of Middletown. Football team's going to be very good down there. So congratulations to all our reward recipients this year for 23-24. Extremely proud of this group. They're going to make us proud from here on out. And we always tell them, once you're a Middie, you're always a Middie. Please go out, experience the world, come back and help us with the younger ones as they come up through. Thank you for your time.
So I've got to say, I'm repping tonight. I'm repping tonight. My son's an All-American, so I'm repping tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Come on, my computer keeps, there we go. All right, let's moving on real quick. Community updates from the Board of Education. It's our last meeting of the year, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with our senior member of the Board of Education, Mr. Perino.
Quite the introduction. Well, I know, but
You could borrow some of
you
my
took
minutes,
30
John.
seconds, so that's it. But I just wanted to mention what Dave mentioned. Congratulations to all our graduates. I think we have close to 500 graduates this year. And we have, as Mr. Coates alluded to, two of our seniors are around the table. Two of our board members have children graduating, three actually. Aaron Williams, son of John Williams, and going to Dominican. We have Crystal Moncherie, son, Stephan, and he's going to Appalachian State. And you know what? Both of these individuals set records in sports. Aaron Williams has about broken every record in track and field there is in Middletown. And Stephan Moncherie is the top heavyweight in the state. Things that what has not been done in Middletown, so that's a first, and congratulations indicates good parenting. And might I also mention another member of the administrative staff, Chief Administrative District, Sean Creedon, is graduating this year.
Hey, all right. I didn't know that.
Now,
We'd get you extra tickets, but that's
Aaron
someplace else.
Aaron and Stephan are graduating on the 26th, Wednesday the 26th. and Sean Creedon on the Tuesday, the 25th. And I must say, and I'm going to, I want to say this, that there was a rumor going around on social media that the reason the graduation was on Wednesday at 10 o'clock was because that Amy's had scheduled that so it wouldn't conflict with her graduation. Not true. Not true. Another one of those rumors floating around, not true. So we wish everyone well and a very, all our graduates, a very successful future. One other item I want to mention, I have a lot of, but I'm going to be out of time here. One of our partners, Dan Higby, CEO of Mid-City Transit, was recognized at the Orange County Executive Youth and Adult Award. That was held on the 5th, June 5th. Of course, Dan and his team provide transportation for our district. And interestingly enough, Dan Higby, his buses, vans, and so on, they cover 10,000 miles, not a week, not a month, not a year, but a day. 10,000 miles a day. Because they don't go to only to Middletown, they go sometimes as far as White Plains and all around the state. And I asked him, Dan, how many miles a year? Because there's other events. 2.3 million miles a year approximately. Can you imagine that? Good to work with. Dan does a lot of pro bono work for the district. You need a group of individuals transported to the senior citizens for a play preview, call Dan and he'll supply a bus at no charge. You need some music people, same thing. I'm done, I don't go over my time, done.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say, let's go Middies on the field as well as in the classrooms. We had a wonderful year. Congratulations to the school district of Middletown City, New York. Number two, tomorrow, it'd be nice if everybody could get out and take full advantage of the Juneteenth events that are going on throughout the town. I know one in particular is going to be at the Galleria Mall. I'm going to be involved with that with the YMCA between the hours of 12 to 2. We have entertainment and a lot of things going on, so it'd be nice if you could get out for that. And finally, I just want to acknowledge somebody in the place today. My big brother's here. He's a senator from Georgia, and if you would just wave to us. He's also a retired Air Force Reserve person as well. So again, congratulations to you, my brother, and to Middletown City Schools. Thank you very much. My time is over.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve my comments towards the end for Mrs. Blumenau. But I do want to piggyback a little bit on what John mentioned in regards to Dan Higby and Mid-City Transit. I'm going to tell you, I think the relationship that this district has with its bus transportation company is the best school district bus transportation relationship in the entire state of New York. There is no doubt in my mind when it comes to that. And what they do for us, sometimes on an emergency basis. We had a situation during the lacrosse championships a couple of weeks ago where Cold Spring Harbor, I think, was the school coming up from Long Island. That morning, their bus, which was a fancy big bus, broke down on 17 right next to Chester, the Chester exit on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
And at the last minute, we called Dan. And Dan, I think himself, got on a school bus and drove it down there to pick that Long Island team up and bring them here so they wouldn't forfeit their championship game on our field. So, you know, that's on a moment's notice. That's what happened. Didn't have to do it, but they did. And that helps enhance our reputation as a school district, even though it's a private bus company. You know, it's how we reacted and how they stood up to the plate. So I want to thank Dan for that. The Diversity Committee had its last meeting this past, was it this past?
Monday.
No, last Monday, last week, Monday. Wrapping up, it's been a really successful year. I want to thank the administration for keeping an open mind and open ears to the suggestions from the Diversity Committee. I think we kind of saw the fruits of that a little bit a few meetings ago when we saw some Hispanic parents come up to the microphone. You know, in past years, that would not have happened. But I think our reach is getting out there into the community, especially to a group of folks who in the past haven't felt welcomed, not because of the fault of the district, but just the perception, I think, of it all. And I think that's begun to change, and we look forward to next year kind of improving on that as we move forward. And that's all I have. And congratulations to all the grads. God bless you. Crossing our fingers for a good Wednesday morning. And for those in the community, especially students of ours that were getting ready to participate in the BOCES graduation, which was scheduled to be held at our location on Thursday. Unfortunately, I received an email earlier today that's been scheduled, switched over to Eisenhower Hall down in West Point now because of the weather that's anticipated. It's just too hot to have. I think Ms. Creedon told me earlier today it's 950 some odd graduates. So that's too big a crowd for, 95-degree plus temperatures out there on the turf field. So that's going to be at Eisenhower Hall on Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bison.
Thank you, Pastor Williams. I just want to comment, Board of Ed has been very busy the last week attending the many activities and closing activities for our many students. If Mrs. Creedon will help me with this one, last Thursday evening, we gave out over $3 million in scholarships.
$3.3 million.
300?
Wow.
3.3 million.
What an astonishing I shouldn't say activity, but what an astonishing acknowledgement of the caliber of our students that they were able to garnish to help them with their college education. So to all of the graduates of the class of 24, congratulations, and we look forward to, as Coach Coates said, to the many ribbons and acknowledgments that you can bring back to Middletown and make us very, very proud. We're proud of your accomplishments now, but we look forward to the future also.
Yes, all right.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Freddie Williams.
Thank you. I would like to mention, no images, but I mentioned the last meeting, the It Takes a Village Back to School barbecue. We had a committee meeting today, myself, Superintendent Creedon, Police Chief John Iwanchu, Mitchell Williams, Selena, and Nicole from Parks and Rec, Ms. Jillian Crawford. Am I forgetting anybody? Nicole Tagney. Yes, Nicole was there. And we were able to hold it at Fiercely Fit on North Street in Middletown. Thank you, Daryl Lynn. We're making many strides for this event, and I'm super excited. Just like I am any year, we're well ahead of pace this year. So we have a little under 3 months, but we have a lot of activities, and there's a lot of support, a lot of businesses, and many hands lifting, would be a heavy weight. But I'm super excited about it. I want to thank all the support from the community and the school district helping with this event. So that's all I have right now. I look forward to it. I'm not rushing the summer, talking about back to school, but we're going to blink, and it's going to be here. Right, we all know summer's the fastest season. We blink and it's gone. So, but I just want to thank everyone at these tables too, for all your support when it comes to the event for the back to school. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Blumenauer is going to have an opportunity to speak later, but for community reports, if you have anything.
Thank you. I just enjoyed so much attending the foundations, the Academy Awards.
Yes.
It was incredible to see just the multitude of students that are now part of that program, the Academy programs. My son was a part of that in 2011, and it blew my mind. So thank you, and congratulations to all of those scholars with, the multiple, multiple sashes. We'll be seeing those, and that's what those mean. When you see the sashes at graduation, those are the the Academy programs that they were participants in. Thank you.
So I'll just say ditto with everything that everybody has said. I think I always enjoy this time of year, as busy as it is. There are so many things to celebrate as we come down to the end of the year. We talked about the scholarship award night, the academy graduations, and all of those different things. All of the different athletic accomplishments of this year. It's just an exciting time of year. Moving up from elementary schools and middle schools and everything that we've got going on in this district is proof that something's being done right, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'm grateful to be a part of it. I'm grateful to just to be in this district, and so I'm looking forward to graduation. I'm expecting a good time again. I'll talk to my boss and pray for a good day, and we'll hope that we'll have a great day. Either way, we've prepared one way or the other. And we look forward to celebrating with all of the families, I'll say this before we even get there. Congratulations to all of the graduates. Not just because my son is graduating, and you have to excuse me, just if I'm a proud dad, I think I'm allowed to be such. I'm very proud of my son and all of his accomplishments in this, especially this his senior year, graduating from the academies, all of his track accomplishments. Mr. Perino said he broke multiple records. He did. He broke multiple records this year, and they said the other night he stands out as arguably the best runner in Middletown history. So I'm proud. And anybody who doesn't like that, too bad. At the end of the day, I'm very proud, and his mother and I are very proud. He's going on to a full ride at Dominican University. And so I think that's something to celebrate. So we're going to move on because we're going to have roundtable. Since it's our last meeting of the year, we're going to have roundtable, and we'll be able to come back and talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. I want to do something. One of our very finest board members is retiring and is leaving from the table for now. For now. We just say for now. I want to say this to Mrs. Blumenauer. You have served this board with distinction, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get used to you not being here at the table. You've been here all along. You have been a voice of reason. You've been a voice of truth. You've set, I think at some point or another, you set all of us straight, and I appreciate that. And so, even though you're leaving temporarily, we're not going to allow you to. We're not going to allow you. Thank you. We're not going to allow you to stay uninvolved. So just know we'll be calling on you. So this award is in recognition of your dedicated service, Paula Blumenauer, school board member from 2012 to 2024 in Large City School District of Middletown. This is from all of us, just to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your dedication down through the years. And I'll be looking forward to getting you back here at the table in the future. Thank you, Paul. Oh, here. Can you hand that to her, Amy, too? Mrs. Blumenau, you get the last word tonight. All right? If anybody's, well, we're gonna, everybody out there on YouTube's Facebook right now, those of you, start sharing. You share everything else, you might as well share this. Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
I did say that, didn't I? Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, you share all the other stuff, you might as well share the good stuff. I'm stupid sometimes, I know I am. Moving on, public participation, opportunity to address the board. The board will designate a portion of its meeting agenda for public comment for a period of up to 40 minutes. Each speaker will be allowed up to 4 minutes. The public is not permitted to discuss topics and/or matters involving specific individual speakers. Must sign in prior to speaking. Speakers are not permitted to cede their time to other speakers. Mr. Estrada, could you please read that in Spanish, and then we'll go on.
La Junta designará una parte de su agenda de reunión para comentario público por un periodo de hasta 40 minutos. A cada persona se le permitirá hasta 4 minutos. No se permite al público discutir temas y o asuntos que involucren a personas específicas. Las personas deben de registrarse, firmar antes de hablar, y las personas no pueden ceder su tiempo a otra persona.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody that would like to address the board tonight? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. I got to give it at least 3 times. All right. Thank you. We're going to move on. We're in the home stretch. We're in the home stretch. Superintendent's updates. Turning into the hands of our superintendent, Mrs. Amy Creedon.
Thank you very much, President Williams, Board of Trustees, and our public. It is really wonderful to be here this evening, joined by our team, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Tuttle, Ms. Pastor, who is our construction manager, and our architect, Walter Hauser, to provide the school community with our summer 2024 construction updates. So we just want to remind the community that there are multiple ways that you can reach out to us. One is that we've created a very specific email address to receive information or responses to your questions about any of our capital improvement projects that are taking place at any time, not just at the Twin Towers campus, and that's construction@ecsdm.org. In addition, off of the district's website, there is a specific section that is designed just for capital improvement projects. So you can navigate there where you can see some updates on the progress of the multiple capital projects that are taking place across the district. So our goals for summer construction, but truly our goals for construction at any time, are to accomplish the voter-approved capital improvement projects with the least amount of disruption to our school community. This summer, we are completing capital improvement projects at Twin Towers Middle School, Maple Hill Elementary School, Presidential Park Elementary School, Monhagen Middle School, and William A. Carter Elementary School. And we are really refining the schedules at each of our campuses in alignment with our construction schedules in order for us to amplify the active construction window, knowing that where we live, we are often faced with challenges related to weather delays in the summer months, and we are still struggling with supply chain issues. So we want to amplify that active construction window so that we can open school at all of our campuses at the same time and continue to fulfill our commitment to the school community in a way that values our tax dollars and minimizes the negative impact that these improvements have while they're taking place. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pastor to go over some of what has already been completed across the campuses and give you a preview of what is about to begin or has begun this summer.
Hi, everybody. Liz Pastore, Triton Construction. I have been working on your projects for the past year. Some of the slides, you're going to see what we accomplished since last June to now. Let's see if we can get this. At the button. Okay. So Maple Hill Elementary, we did a lot of sidewalks and drainage around the building. You can see an aerial shot of all the new sidewalks. We did expand the playground also at Maple Hill so that there's a lot more room for the kids that are there, as well as connecting the two schools. So there's a pass through from one Monhagen to Maple Hill. Okay. We also did a turf field. That was the original baseball field that was turned into baseball, lacrosse, and soccer, so everybody can enjoy that. That's right behind the stadium. That was a nice project as well. And we added, this one is still in progress, we added an elevator up to the press box. We should be finishing that probably just before school opens, but that's another significant project for helping everybody to enjoy the stadium. Okay. We also changed all of the lighting. All of the lighting has been added to the football field as well as the new field that we just installed, the new turf field. So we have some capabilities for the nighttime. We also had at the high school, we did some roof repairs in the courtyard. We did the music roof. We did the band room roof. Much needed repairs, and that has also been completed. William Carter, we did quite a few roofs on William Carter during the summer. This coming up, we're going to be completed with some additional 4 HVAC units, which I'll mention later on in the slide. Twin Towers, big projects at Twin Towers. We put in a parent drop-off loop. We put in a new bus loop out front. And of course, we are also doing 243 windows. As of today, we have 187 that have been completed. We've been working nights, and now that the school is out, we've been back to working days, trying to get those windows in. As you can see by the windows, we're trying to eliminate that lovely orange color. So we have new bronze framed windows. As we go along, you'll start to not see that orange as much anymore, which is really helpful. As you can see, the old pictures with all the orange windows, this is the site lighting that we added in around the parent drop-off, as well as the bus loop. There's all new lighting for safety. These are some of the things that we have done. You don't really see these things. This is a drainage system that was put in to the right of the bus loop so that we have proper drainage of the bus loop and the area around it into the community drainage system into the city of Middletown. We also, what you don't see is we did a well field, 180 wells that were completed during the summer as well last year. And this is the geothermal manifold that's inside that is waiting for connection to the new heating and air conditioning system that will begin to happen, that already started this June to the next couple of years. We also went around the building and Twin Towers and we did some masonry repairs. Just cleaning up and fixing all of the things that have been cracked. I'm going to turn it over to Walter for a few minutes, and then I'm going to join back in to tell you what's happening that has just started June 3rd. I'll give you an update there.
Good evening. Quickly before I talk about NYSERDA, I just want to thank Liz for all of her hard work and Mr. Bartlett and his team to put a bow on the work that was done last summer. It was just under $19 million in construction value since over the course of the last year, and 17 different contractors were involved in the execution of that work. So it was quite a big lift on Liz's part to manage all those folks, and Mr. Bartlett and his team to coordinate that work around the district. So just to give you a little bit of context, the amount of work that was done there. So we've talked about the NYSERDA initiative previously, the Clean Green Schools Initiative. This is really to support energy efficiency, indoor air quality, and climate justice throughout New York State. Working with the district, we were awarded a $4 million grant for the Twin Towers project, and that supports the geothermal system and the well field that was put in over last summer. We are also working for a second round of funding for Twin Towers and have submitted an application for another $5 million. The $4 million was the single largest award in the state to a singular school building. And if we get the $5 million, we'll be way and above that. So we're not going to hear about that for a little while, but that would continue to support the work in the building to create that energy efficiency, create that environmental justice within the building, and support a transition away from fossil fuels. So the idea is to eliminate or significantly reduce the reliance on carbon-based fuels, natural gas, and move towards clean energy, primarily through electric heat pumps using the geothermal system. So the geothermal system, you know now that the wells are drilled, they're completely concealed underground, they're silent, they're simple, they have a long life expectancy, and will help support the air conditioning and improved environmental conditions within the building, and over time, reduce your energy burden. So all great things, and you should be really proud of where the school is in this. You really are a leader in the state in this initiative, and NYSERDA has recognized that with their financial backing. So I'll turn this back over to Liz, talk a little bit about what's going to happen this summer.
So we just already kicked off in June, got everything started. The high school, we've had an emergency boiler replacement that's been happening. That's been in progress. The Bills team has really been taking over that, trying to get that completed for September. William Carter, as I told you, we did all the roof replacements. We have 4 HVAC units that are going up. We have a very tight window that we're doing that to make sure that we can still have the kids in summer school. So I do have some great contractors that have been working with us during the whole process. Presidential Park, we are doing, replacing the floors at Presidential Park. We'll have some pictures a little bit later on the slide. We're also doing a bus loop canopy so that the kids are outside when they're by the bus, they can, the sun and the rain, they can still pick up the bus standing underneath that bus loop. That also starts as soon as school closes. We have a tight time frame with that to make sure it's completed for this summer. Montague Middle School, we're also doing floor replacements, also tight time frame. We'll be working 6 days a week, trying to get it done to make sure that the school opens without any issues and on time. Twin Towers, we were very thankful that we were able to start this a month early because we have a lot going on in that school, and having that opportunity to grab that extra month to really get started on the work has helped tremendously. This is some photographs of the boilers that were going in at the high school. This is the Presidential Park flooring replacement. As you can see, the shaded area is the whole area that we're putting in, approximately 35,000 square feet of floor replacement. That will be happening during the summer, some terrazzo as well. Presidential Park, this is the location of the bus loop canopy. As you can see, it's the whole length of where the buses pick up the kids and drop them off. This is a rendering of what that will look like when it's completed. Okay, and then Montague Middle School, we're also simultaneously doing both schools for flooring. Montague, these are the schools that floors that will be replaced in these sections of the school. This is a rendering of the Phase 2 project for Twin Towers. This is the extension that we have actually started doing site work on for the 3-story addition of classrooms, and as well as a cafeteria and servery to the far left. This is the process that we've been through as far as trying to get the Twin Towers Middle School. We did some permitting. We did outreach to the community. We went out to bidding all the contractors. We vetted the contractors. We started our pre-construction planning. And then, of course, construction started in Phase 2. The courtyard, we have a courtyard that's being renovated. We also started that on June 3rd. We've done some additional abatements, some windows and flooring started also. We're starting some site work, you see some photos later on. And then with all this going on, we're trying to get the foundations installed around the July 8th timeframe. Windows, as I mentioned to you before, we have about 187 windows completed out of the 243. What you're looking at here is the overview of where we have everything set up. The photograph to the lower left is a field, part of the field where we had the wells. We're not on the wells, we're over to the side. We created a lay-down area for the contractors because we were going to have a lot of equipment and steel. We're using that as a staging area. The photograph on the lower right is the entrance to that field off of Irwin. We want to make sure that we keep all of the contractors' cars off the street and into this parking area here. The upper right shows you all the fencing that we put around the construction site. What you're going to see is abatement. As you can see in the upper left, there are windows that were already removed under abatement. They're all boarded up, so when the new building gets attached to that, there will be no asbestos that'll be taken out. We're doing some classrooms during this summer. As of the end of next week, the abatement will be completed. So we started the extension. We started all the site work. As you can see, we removed the sidewalks. We started to remove the staircases up to the building. As you can see, the top right is a huge jackhammer that's just chopping through all of that concrete. And the middle picture in the center there, that was your old staircase. As you can see, there's a big drop down there. That's where our building footprint is going to be installed for the new building extension. And then these are some of the things to look forward to coming down the road. You'll see some steel going up, you'll see some foundations going in, and then eventually you'll see some masonry work as we tie up the building. So I'm going to jump back to Walter on this part.
So you may remember the Twin Towers project includes another initiative beyond the energy measures. And that's a focus on inclusion and support for minority and local businesses, as well as minority and local workforce, so and women workforce. So there are two different categories on this slide, and this has to do with phase one that was completed last summer. And of the total project, we had participation of $1.6 million worth of construction going to minority business enterprises and local disadvantaged enterprises. So that's a pretty significant contribution to both those categories. And then we look at the people that actually worked on the project, not the business entities, but the labor force that was involved. Our goals there were minority participation of 20% and women participation of 10%. The minority participation was very high. We achieved 63 or almost 64% participation. You'll see there's about almost 17,000 hours worked on the project last year. Of those hours, 10,700 were minorities, and almost 1,200 hours were women on the job. So both of those measures exceeded our goals by leaps and bounds. So that's the work that was completed already. As part of the bid package for the additions and alterations, what we're kind of calling phase two, the work that started this June, each contractor was to submit a plan of how to meet the goals stated in the bid documents. And our goals were 9% participation by minority or disadvantaged businesses, 6% from women business enterprises, and 5% of local business participation. In the table you see here, right now we are slightly under on the minority business enterprise utilization. We're less than 1%, but we do have some work to be bid that we believe will gain some more participation related to some interior fit out. The women-owned business enterprises are at our goals of 6%. That's almost $3.6 million. And our local utilization is way above our target of 5%. It's 45%, which is almost $27 million going straight back into the local economy here. So those are interesting results. This is our first pass at this program in this district, and I would say across the board it's going very well. Of course, these are targets based on the bids. They will be monitored through your third-party consultant, Landon and Ryan, throughout construction. they monitor the pay requisitions and the payroll information that comes in and cross-reference it against the plan. So they track the data just like they did in phase one. But the targets right now are looking really good. And this is a tremendous reinvestment, not only in the building, but in your community and the workforce at large. So we applaud the district on those efforts.
Can we just go back? I just
Yeah.
want to go back one slide, just so the board, I just want to make sure that this is super clear that while the last slide was our projections, this is what we actually accomplished with phase one. And it's something that you should feel really proud that you committed to this work, because this project, we always said from the beginning, it being a community school and such historical significance in, really bringing home some Midi pride, that we wanted to make sure that when folks drove by this school after the project was completed, that they could look at that school and say, I know somebody who worked on that job. My uncle, was the painter. My cousin was this, or a neighbor was this. So we, contributed back into this workforce in this community $1.6 million. That is an incredible accomplishment and something this board should be very proud that they committed to.
So these should look familiar at this point, just to remind you where we're headed. This is not all going to be done this summer, but this is the plan for Twin Towers. So we're looking off Irwin. We see the cafeteria addition closest to us, the new field improvements, and the three-story classroom addition backing up to the existing building. This is a kind of ground level view of the cafeteria. And remember, this is 2 cafeterias, so it's kind of split in half. That'll allow to have smaller groups in the cafeteria at once, but also condense the eating schedule to fewer periods during the day, so we don't have students eating so early or late during the school day. This is the new library and media center, which will be in the heart of the school. We're bringing it up a level, so it's on the main level of the building, not in the
Are you
basement
jealous,
anymore.
Mr. Perino? Are you jealous of that media center? Because you were the patriarch of the media center at Twin Towers at one time.
This is another view of the library media center. So the plan is to still have plenty of books, but also have open collaboration and workspaces just like this space here. And then some interior views of the instructional spaces up above. This is a lab space, general instructional classroom. And Amy,
Yep, this was just, we wanted to make sure, just to give you a reminder about, with those last images of where we're headed. Just don't think this is going to happen in August, right? We have a few more years. This will be an active construction site for many years. Yeah. And so we have been, had nice engagement from our community. We've held several community opportunities for families and neighbors to come in and talk to us about the project and hear the concerns, and we're trying to address them. And Liz is literally out on the streets day in and day out, meeting with people, popping in, having coffee, helping them understand the project, and really just engaging our community. But if you are looking for information on the construction projects, please reach out to us on construction@ecsdem.org. And then this is just a picture of that section on our website that is dedicated just to capital projects. And we will open the floor to the board members if you have any questions.
Yes. Question I would like to ask about is that pathway between Maple Hill and Monhegan. Is that like a corridor, or is it just a walkway? Or because it is a
So the asphalt goes from the Maple Hill parking lot where the kids come down the sidewalk there and straight through? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Get back. All the way up, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry about that. So if you can see the sort of white sidewalk to the left of the entrance there.
yes.
And then the asphalt carries straight through all the way to the right. If you look by the track area, that is all open. So the kids can travel from the entrance there all the way over to the track location of Monhegan. Which was, I think, one of the reasons why they developed the connection. Because a lot of kids were going down to the county road to come around and go back up into Maple Hill.
No, that's a good piece because I know a lot of the kids travel from Maple Hill to after-school programs and
Yep.
basketball practice and track. So
Yep.
that pathway would be awesome. That's fantastic.
And that was part of the design that the
Yeah.
architects came up
I
with.
also wanted to ask real quick about the flooring that you guys are putting in Presidential as well as on Monhagen.
Yep.
That looks like a major process. Is that because of the instability of the grounds moving and
Yep. Why did you?
Yeah, there are two different set of circumstances. At Presidential Park, there's a need to replace the flooring primarily because we are fixing the floor slabs. If you've been in there, you know some of them have settled a little bit since the
Yeah.
original construction. That portion of the building is on approximately 15 feet of fill. So we're just trying to remediate the slab work there. The flooring at Monhagen is just aged out. So that it was installed in the mid to late 90s, 98, 99, 96. Yeah, so it's reached the end of its expected useful life and can only be waxed and buffed so many times. So that's just come of age. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And final thing, I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you guys really taking the time to share about the workforce and the diversity and those levels of things, not just to us, but to the community. That's a good piece for my information. I'm sure everybody else appreciates it as well. Yeah.
Sure. Just keep it on that slide. What's the bottom of the playground? What is that? Looks like with a little white circle with a red dot in the middle?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that, but yeah, that's the game where you throw the ball up in the it's like a metal, it's almost like a metal basketball hoop. It has a number of different holes that come out.
Oh, okay.
And then the ball shoots out.
Because it
to
looks like
different-
there's a path, right? Or is that just landscaping?
Actually, that's fencing.
That's
The
fencing. The
Yeah.
top of the fencing is what you're seeing.
Okay, okay. And then, so that hands, and thank you, Mr. Redd, because you answered my question about Presidential Park's flooring. I was a little concerned because the building's not that old that we
Yeah, and
need,
it's just a select area. I mean, it's a sizable area, but it's just a portion of the building.
and we don't have the rest of the buildings okay from a
Yeah,
flooring
yeah,
perspective. Okay.
That was a drainage problem, correct? Correct.
The, and because I've only been on the board for this past year, so some folks might already know this, but what's being done with the courtyard area at Twin? Is it just getting redone? I don't know what type of usage we've had there.
Yeah, it's
None, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty low usage. It's just getting fixed up and cleaned up in there. There's some trees growing in there. It's really not planning major usage, but there will be some hardscape. It's been difficult to maintain over the years, so we're trying to make it a little easier to maintain and a little bit more user-friendly. But we've talked about internally with the building staff quite a bit. It's not an area that we want to put a lot of people for a couple of reasons, but one is it makes a lot of noise and it's disruptive to other spaces. in there,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
I just think maybe for future reference, we might try to find better usage of the space, because we eventually, at the high school, we had a courtyard here. And
So-
we're just, that's just.
We did look at potentially expanding into the courtyard. There were some other technical difficulties with the construction of that at Twin Towers that weren't present at the high school. Even though the high school was very technically difficult, Twin would even be harder. So
Yeah.
it's up a level from where the access would be.
The, if you can go to the picture of the stadium, right there. Anywhere we can put the word middies up and down that elevator shaft on the outside or something.
It will be wrapped.
Yeah.
The elevator shaft will be wrapped with branding for the district.
Okay.
Yeah, it's designed so you can put essentially like a car wrap
Something.
on it. Yeah, and it could.
And I'm still fighting for my touchdown MIDI thing on the outside facade of the school building.
Jesus, on the outside of the.
Okay.
The old, yeah, the old, for those who don't know, the one end zone facing the school building has a wall that we can really do some good artwork on, similar to Touchdown Jesus at Notre Dame.
Gotcha.
That people can really enjoy up there. And then finally, my question on the diversity numbers and things of that nature. What is defined as local here? Is it the Mid-Hudson Valley? Is it just Orange County?
Yeah, we've expanded the local look out to what we equated it to was who do we compete with in athletics? Who are the teams that come here and that we travel to
Well,
there?
I'm sorry, I meant local workforce.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
we did.
okay.
We looked at like our section and said, well, if we compete with them, we travel to them, to their home, and they come to us for athletics. We're considering that sort of our span of local.
Like our Section 9 of
Yes,
local.
yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Perino?
Thank you. Yes, it should be a very beautiful media center.
For those of you who don't know, Mr. Perino was the media specialist at Twin when I went to that school in the early 1980s. So,
Yeah.
not to age you, John.
Had a number of media centers at that school. When I first began, it was on the second floor. Very traditional and really beautiful center. And then
And to tell you how things, how things end up becoming an impact on people, that was the very first time that we had kind of like a broadcast center in Middletown.
right, yeah.
And we used to have the news. We used to do the news back then. And that's what created my passion for being a broadcaster when I went to school. So, see, it does have an impact.
Yeah.
Now I talk too much, so.
So that's how we got here, huh?
The question, when do we expect, and I know it's a ways down the road, Twin Towers to be complete? What year?
When Mrs. Blumenau is back on the school board.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
See, Twin Towers.
Spring of 2028. So,
There you go, Tyler.
yeah, so you may remember, we talked about this years ago, it feels like. The plan is to build the addition, occupy the addition, use that space as what we refer to as swing space, so we can slowly renovate the rest of the building season by season. So move students into the new addition, create some opening for some construction work in other areas, and then do piece by piece.
If someone could wave a magic wand and that building was unoccupied, what would that do to the completion date?
It would help it significantly. The plan that's put together is really meant, and it's working around the educational operation of that building. That's paramount consideration. And there are a lot of scheduling concessions made to make that happen. It's important, we know, part of the project is mandatory, that students are able to learn in that building and not be disrupted. So, if there were an opportunity to say, have at it, the contractors would complete that work significantly sooner. I don't know if I want to commit to a date right now, but many months, years, potentially multiple years sooner.
It's going to be most definitely a challenge working around staff and students.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, and I continually reminded that we put a third floor on this building while it was occupied and infilled the courtyard while it was occupied. And it is, no doubt, something that's acknowledged by occupants in the building, but takes some careful planning. Liz has done a great job putting together a plan for that with the contractors, and that's primary consideration.
Thank you.
Mrs. Blumenau?
I look forward to coming back for the ribbon cutting for Twin Towers, because I think, as you remember, as we walked around the building in our initial, my children went to this school, so I was very familiar with the school and its strengths, but also some of the challenges. And I just remember us having that, that kind of conversation of.
We have a connection, because I remember that too, as we're sitting here listening to your time coming to an end on the board. I distinctly was thinking about that walkthrough, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look
and here
forward to
we
seeing
are.
you there.
Yeah, we'll be there for sure. Thank you.
Fall of '21, that's how long.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, it's coming together beautifully. And just seeing that, that final vision, I'm really looking forward to seeing that, so.
Absolutely. I think, you have anything? Anybody else? Mrs.?
When you showed the slide with the percentages for diversity and women, were women also included then into the percentages for the diversity? I think women were 7%, and then the diversity was 40-something.
That's a good question. It's probably something we can ask Landon and Ryan, but I believe they're separate numbers. Yeah.
I was hoping we were going to be included in your diversity also.
Well, you have a standalone category. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was good that they separated it out and keyed specifically on it. It shows some.
It's a work in progress. We didn't know what to expect with this program, and I would say that the first round through it has gone really well, and the numbers were, we thought we were being optimistic with the numbers. Set a high bar, try to hit the bar, and in some cases we're way over it. So that is good news to us.
I think it was. I think that the initial vision moving into that program, I think that it's moving along very well.
I think, President Williams, when this is all said and done, I think we should extend an invitation to whomever the governor is at that time to come down to the ribbon cutting, only because we're taking a building that was built 90 years ago. 1933. Okay, so about 80 years ago, right? We're taking that and bringing it into this century, not only from a physical appearance, but we're making the school pretty much green. That type of building at that age, and instead of knocking it down and building a brand new one at $100 and some odd million, we've not only renovated this building. I remember the conversations when we first started talking about whether or not we were going to build a new school or whether to renovate this one. And one of the things this building is so strong that all you have to do is, if you put some effort and money into it, it's going to last you another 80 years. So it's a testament to how that building was built, but also our vision of making it a green building now, given its age, I think is something that can really be lauded throughout the state for other buildings around New York, school buildings that are really running down at this stage.
Yeah, I think the Twin Towers story is a pretty magical and unique story. The fact that we did exactly what you just said, and it's a community school, it's rich with history, and I think it's part of the compelling reasons, right, of that story that it tells is why we were, so successful with the geothermal grant funding, because of that reason, that we are taking, a historically significant building and utilizing new technology to make it green. And I think it's what will continue to be a compelling part of that building's legacy.
Absolutely. Anything else from anybody? No. I don't have many questions because I've been keeping an eye on it and everybody's asked all the questions. Well, yeah, I watch it right out my window. Liz said she told them today they were doing work right outside. She says, "Don't look in the windows." So I says, all they would have saw me was being hot. That's all. But I think it's coming along. The initial vision of this. Mr. Perino and I were on the initial committees for this project, and I think it's coming along well. And I think that the initiatives that were put in place also to include, to make sure that we were reaching out to, minority groups, and I don't even want to call them minority because it's not minority groups anymore, but different groups and the women and local. I think that at the end of the day, the amount of money that this project is bringing back into this area is going to stand high above any other projects that we see having, because most of the time they bring in people from elsewhere. So, I'm looking forward to the completion of it. I don't know where I'll be, but I'm looking forward to the completion of it. I think it's going to be a great testament to past, present, and future for Middletown. So, anybody else? Anything else? No, Mr. Perino.
One thing we did with Twin Towers and Presidential, the staff had a great deal of involvement.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it should be. We tried to give the staff what they wanted, if at all possible. So it didn't come from the top down, came right from the staff, much of the planning on
Yes,
that.
sir. Staff was heavily involved in that
Yep.
initial imagining of everything. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to invite Mrs. Adoma, Ms. Frederick, and Mr. Merritt to talk about all of the places, including our academics and grading, where we're digging into equity practices.
Thanks for hanging out and waiting for us. We don't take that for granted.
Hey, good evening. This evening I have Gabriella Frederick and Fred Merritt, our instructional leaders for Middle School Humanities, here to discuss the work that our instructional team has been leading with revising our grading practices and policies.
Thank you, Ms. Adoma. I appreciate it. Thank you all for taking some time to listen to us. So over the past 2 years, we've been evaluating different ways we can ensure that our scholars receive the best, most equitable educational experience here at Middletown. One area that we examined was our grading systems. We've leveraged Joe Feldman's book, Grading for Equity. In fact, I'll change the slide so you can see Mr. Feldman right there. We use his book as the guidepost for our process. We use his book because he's a leading advocate for equitable grading practices. He's an experienced educator and administrator and has dedicated his career to addressing disparities and inequities in education. Grading for Equity is also deeply rooted in extensive research and data, so we can be sure that the things he talks about are really vetted and solid practices. And so we draw upon the empirical studies and data-driven insights just to provide some authentic real-world examples and provide us with a roadmap for how we can better our grading processes here at Middletown.
So you're probably wondering why this work is a much-needed priority within our district. For one, just to provide some context, Grading for Equity stands on 3 pillars, that being accuracy, bias resistance, and motivation. Accuracy ensures that grades truly reflect a scholar's understanding. Bias resistance aims to eliminate unconscious biases from educators and external factors from influencing grades. Finally, motivation empowers scholars to take ownership of the learning process. Throughout our review of common grading practices implemented throughout the district, we have observed that several of our grading practices create inequities that are a disservice to our scholars and potentially distort the very meaning of what a grade represents. Academics and equitable grades are critical to our district's strategic plan and success moving forward, in that they ensure we can measure the effectiveness of any given program within our district, provide fair, free, and appropriate educational opportunities to all scholars, move towards a system that prioritizes 21st century skills, which allow our scholars to be successful in a competitive job market, shifts grades from being punitive towards promoting scholar ownership in their learning.
Yep, and there we go. Those are the 3 pillars. And then, so defining the meaning of a grade was a critical first step to this work. Again, this has been 2 years in the making thus far. This definition you see right here, a grade is a measure of a scholar's academic performance at a specific point in time, was crafted by both administration and also teacher leaders through some book studies. We're going to talk about that in a few moments. It became our North Star. Anything we talked about, anything we did, had to go through and make sure it actually matched this definition. And just, I know when you look at the definition, it might seem kind of simple in its onset, but it's a very nuanced And as you dig into the work, you can start to see why as you piece and look at each individual component of the grade.
Within the 3 pillars mentioned previously, we studied specific strategies to address the inequities within our grading system. So for one, accuracy, as I mentioned before, minimum grade floor is one potential strategy. This practice asks districts to establish a minimum grade, such as a 50, 55, on all assignments. This has 2 key implications. It rebalances the grading scale towards an equal distribution of failure and success, addressing the current 0 to 100 scale, skewed towards failure. Additionally, by reducing the number of points within a given assignment, scholars, educators, and families should have a clearer understanding of a scholar's performance on a task. Another strategy is weighing the most recent performance. This practice recommends that districts weigh a scholar's most recent performance more heavily around a skill or topic, ensuring that practice opportunities are not held to the same weight as an end-of-topic assessment. For example, classwork completed after learning about supplementary angles may be given more weight compared to the initial classwork when the topic was first introduced. And then lastly, elimination of group grades. Now, this strategy doesn't recommend that we eliminate group tasks overall. We know that's essential to collaboration. Instead, it suggests grading individual performance within those group tasks, allowing educators to gain a more accurate understanding of each scholar's learning and needs.
And so that was accuracy. So bias resistance, we looked at the following: elimination of extra credit. So eliminating extra credit promotes equity in grading by ensuring all students are evaluated based on the same set of assignments, not varying assignments depending on which ones you complete, which extra credit you get. This prevents an additional advantage for students who are already successful and more likely to pursue the credit opportunities. They're maintaining a fair assessment for all scholars. The second was the elimination of grades that assess soft skills. Again, just like group grades, soft skills are essential. Things like participation, effort, organization are key components to success in the real world. But this strategy asks that we do not put them in the grade book, rather use things like feedback mechanisms as a way to support the growth of those, not have it impact the grades, because these are inherently a subjective group of things to look at. Last was the elimination of homework as a grade. Again, just want to emphasize a few of these things. Do not ask us to get rid of them altogether, because they can be critical components, but rather looking at them as somewhere else besides the grade book. So eliminating homework from grades ensures that students are assessed basically solely on their class performance, reducing disparities linked to different home environments and access to resources. This practice, again, does not advocate the eliminating homework altogether, but it allows a more equitable assessment of the scholar's ability. Again, as you can hear these definitions, they all kind of go back and streamline towards that definition of a grade that we're trying to work towards.
And lastly, the pillar of motivation, we looked at the strategy of redos and retakes. Allowing redos and retakes ensures that students are assessed based on their most current understanding and skills, but while providing opportunities to overcome past difficulties. This equitable practice acknowledges diverse learning paces and encourages mastery by focusing on improvement and learning.
So this graphic you see depicts the 2-year journey we've taken thus far. It's important to note that this work is something that was not created overnight. There was a lot of intentionality and purpose that went into each stage, from onboarding district administrators last year to providing educators with opportunities and resources to implement the strategy we just talked about in their classrooms this year. We wanted to ensure that we moved towards universal implementation of one or more of these strategies, and it was a collective effort. That way we can make sure that it's the best fit for our educators, our scholars, our community, and our schools.
So specifically, we started off with a leadership book study in the 2022 to 2023 school year. Within that book study, we met 4 different times throughout the second half of the year. The goals of the book study were to include various perspectives in the work, ensure that all administrators were aligned in the understanding of equitable practices before we included educators in the process, discuss potential roadblocks, pitfalls, areas of support that may be needed for each of the identified practices, and then rate each practice or strategy to identify which ones might be worth implementing during the educator pilot program. The idea is that we didn't want to just implement them all, but we want to ensure that they were a right fit for the campus buildings.
And then this year, we mirrored that with a teacher leader book study comprised of subject matter leaders, department chairs, cluster leaders, team leaders, all gambits across all campuses. We had over 80 educators participate in this across the district, which was incredible. So very, very proud of that awesome work that all the other schools did as well. And so, like Gabby said, it mirrored very much the same thing as the teacher leader, the administrator book study, but we also asked these teacher leaders to be champions of the work too and really advocate in their campuses to support and grow this organically.
The last component of this journey was the teacher pilot program. Each building was charged with conducting this pilot program. It was completely voluntary, and we were able to have 70 educators participate in this across the district. The idea was that we wanted to gather as many educators as possible to try out the various equitable grading strategies, and to implement these in different ways with different types of students and learners, so that as a district we can glean as much information as possible before we think about implementation district-wide.
All right, so that leads us to where we are right now. So we are in the last leg of our pilot program, so June of 2024. Each building met with the pilot program to evaluate and discuss the different strategies they've used throughout the year. We asked our educators to recommend some of the practices based on their own experiences. Once they had those recommendations, we met as a collective, actually a couple weeks ago, to discuss what were some recommendations, and then as administrators and district leadership, evaluate and determine which recommendations we want to move forward for next year and have it be actualized within the classroom universally. And then we're currently working on a grading for equity document that outlines the procedures and logistics of implementation, and it's being created right now, vetted for the work of our colleagues, Ms. Adoma, really leading that charge. And then in July and August, throughout the summer months, we hope that more of our colleagues come forth to you all and explain some of the nuances and aspects of the plan. We'll then share that grading for equity document with the community and different members and different stakeholders so that they can see clear understanding of what that means. And then the instruction team will also conduct town halls as well to really provide some clarity and logistics and rationale behind these changes, to have those community members, families specifically, who are key stakeholders in our educational process, understanding why these changes are happening and how they can really better and support all learners within our district. So I want to thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. And that's really where we're at right now.
And I just want to amplify, though, that it's really important for us to acknowledge, the voice of our families. We began on this journey because of the best practices that, we believed as leaders, but also because our families continually came to us and said, why is it that in a first grade classroom in this campus, homework counts for this, and tests count for this, and projects count for this? But then across on the other side of the district, where I have another young person who's in a different program, but maybe the same grade level, the grading is totally different. I don't know what to expect. One building I get homework, and another building I don't, right? So the goal of this group at the end of this summer with the grading for equity document will be to set the frame, to outline for our educators, our families, and our school community what they can expect. We will be setting the pace for what grading looks like in this district, what percentages and weights each of the categories can hold in terms of a student's final calculation of a grade, so that we're following the voice of our families, our educators who have gone through this practice to this point, and the best practice recommendations of the instructional team. Really good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. First of all, fantastic presentation. I like the idea of what you're doing with bringing in these different shifts that allow you to cohesively get a real good measure on all the school grades, all the schools and their levels. My question is, I wanted to know a little bit if you can talk about where you talk about eliminations and the participation part. Can you tell me how you measure that and what's your take on that part? Because
So you're referring to the elimination of participation in the grade book?
yeah.
Yes, and so I guess we'll start by thinking about traditional grading metrics. I know we talked about Twin being 80 years old. Some of our grading metrics are over 120 years old, really prioritizing 19th century, early 20th century skills like compliance, and that's where participation gets into play, where we look at assignments that, okay, you participate as a check, no check, complete, no complete, and so in the grade book it represents a 0 or 100 or some aspect of that, and there's no nuance or discussion about what that actual learning actually took place. And then we talk about subjectivity. I will admit that when I was a middle schooler, my attention span was very limited, and so I was often doodling in my notebook or looking around, and I was paying attention, but through the perspective of the educator, I might not have. And so participation, I got knocked quite a few times for that, my own experience. And so the subjectivity creates inherent biases, which then can discourage motivation, distort the grade to the point where it doesn't actually represent scholar learning, and that makes it really impossible to evaluate the effectiveness or efficacy of any of the programs that we're working with inside our schools.
I appreciate that's a really good. I like the way you broke that down because again, the flip side of it is those that don't participate at all, you know, and so it's kind of like weighing apples and oranges.
Yep, and I think it's important to just mention too that there's a difference between having practice and providing feedback and support for scholars as they engage in collaborative efforts versus using it as a way to, in the grade book, right? And so again, with Grading for Equity, we're not asking to eliminate these things like group work, again, an essential skill for 21st century learning. Homework, which is a great opportunity for scholars to practice the stuff. We're just saying that maybe the grade book isn't the best place to stick these things.
Gotcha. Yeah, I always think about active engagement.
Exactly.
As opposed to just sitting back. Thank you.
Mrs. Blumenauer.
You know, I'm listening and I'm feeling like, you know, we've always been ahead, right, of the curve. That's kind of my mantra, right? Middletown's ahead of the curve. How would our grading compare to grading in the rest, you know, where our students are being measured in their next steps? So, because like we're hearing about regions possibly going away for the 180th time, but when we have a child who is going to get whether it's a 4 or an A or whatever or you know, exceeds expectations, you know, however we're going to title that grade, how does that translate to the bigger world?
I think that's one of the reasons why we engaged in this work, because we wanted to make sure that kids are getting graded for what they know, not for compliance. So if you look at traditional grading, it's based on compliance first. You know, I come to school, I turn my homework in, I do my classwork, I raise my hand, I answer questions, but it doesn't necessarily measure what our children know. So that's kind of the point of what we're trying to get to, that we'll be able to make it more accurate. So when a scholar sees their grade or their family sees their grade, it shows, here's where my child is at. And just to get away from, you asked about testing. So we have incorporated a lot of project-based testing, our project-based assessments in our grade levels. So we're seeing, just like the Agents of Change project that was talked about earlier, but we have project-based assessments in addition to your tests and quizzes as well. So we are looking at different ways to assess our children, so that way they're getting more realistic experiences as what they may see if they go into the workforce or into college. I think you look, like you're seeing some of this work happen in different pockets, but you know, we still have some of the other districts are not there yet, because it's one of the things that we talked about is just kind of getting the mindset. So with the book study, we were able to, you know, our administrators, our teachers, we all were able to kind of have a common understanding as to why this work is important, and then just learning about different ways to do this work. So that was very helpful just to hear about the practices and why certain practices don't work for our children.
Thank you.
I think just to add to that too, if you think about just historically, you know, think about Common Core. I think about and you think about the trickle down effect and these jobs and different agencies saying, you know what, our young people come in there unprepared, And I think that part of the grade distortion of these grades and prioritizing some of these skills that are now defunct in terms of early, late 19th century, early 20th century skills that really kind of promote factory work, that type of thing, then it creates a disservice where we have scholars going through their educational career feeling like they are ready and prepared, only to meet with, a harsh reality when they graduate. And so we really want to make sure that they clearly understand and support them while we have them here.
And we have incredible educators who are doing wonderful things in classrooms, and we've seen it all year in all the presentations, but there is definitely, not the tightest alignment between what they're doing in classrooms, but then it doesn't translate in the same way, to the grade book, which is a system that is antiquated in itself, right? And so it isn't a function of our educators who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Our educators are incredible. We just have to create the systems that enable them to continue to do that, and then have practices that align to where they're at, right? And you're seeing that happen across the state, even with the conversation we had earlier about the Regents exams and the graduation pathways, right? The New York State Education Department is recognizing that there have to be more variety in the ways that our young people can demonstrate their readiness to see outside of a high school experience that are bigger than, an SAT or a Regents exam or a one-time and one-place example of demonstrating mastery.
Yeah.
I think we've been very proactive in that area as we kind of moved away from the single test, that one single test evaluation that, that pretty much pigeonholed our students, and just kind of getting, I love the idea of just kind of wiping the slate clean and saying, okay, here's what we should be looking for, and taking out some of the noise. So, thank you.
That's a good point, Paula. And also, that pilot study will definitely yield some invaluable feedback. Yeah.
Mr. Perino.
I think in our mission statement, we have one of the items is preparing students for college and careers. For example, let's take a course on trigonometry. Are we saying eliminate the independent practice in trigonometry, or are we saying don't count that as a grade? Let's say a teacher assigns a completion of 2 terms. What are we saying there? That the homework isn't going to, the independent practice isn't going to count? Does a student have to turn that in? How do we measure mastery of a subject with this system?
Yeah, no, of course. And so independent practice is a critical part of the grade, and it speaks very much to the definition of our grade, which is right here, looking at the performance of academic performance of a scholar at a specific point in time. So with homework, for example, just to kind of lean in that a little bit, a more equitable practice would be considered opt-in homework, where it's opportunities for scholars to complete work at home, but does not penalize scholars who perhaps do not have the ability, resources. I think about the families that have both parents working 2 jobs, whereas I think about my family, my mom was able to support me in my homework growing up. And so it creates a disproportionality in terms of equity and access. So we're saying that's important, but allowing space and opportunity for scholars to take advantage elsewhere within the confines of our classroom. And so, again, saying that we should do that and allow scholars to have opportunity for homework, but then the independent practice is a critical part and is most certainly going to be in the grade. And so kind of that leans into another aspect. And you can see as we look at some of these, they work in tandem with each other. So I know Gabby talked about weighing a most recent performance. And so my question for how important that would be in the grade book, my question would be, well, where does this happen in the learning? Is it the onset of learning? Have I learned about trigonometry before? If I have not, then it would be, before learning occurred, how can you assess my mastery of that? Towards the end, as you've taught me, I've had several classes on this, I've done practice, had some feedback, then my learning takes place. That's where we should really be counting the learning. But our traditional metrics measure both of them simultaneously the same. And so if I got a 0 in the beginning of the unit on trigonometry and 100 at the end, I average those together, I'm looking at a 50, which is not a true representation of my learning and my journey across that process. And so by prioritizing and amplifying the tail end of that, it really better indicates my learning process and my true understanding of my mastery at a specific point in time.
So you're saying, Fred, not to necessarily eliminate guided practice. Am I correct on that?
Correct, yep, yep. And so, like, you know, again, this can look and feel very different depending on how you want to implement. But for example, an educator could conference with scholars, provide them with additional resources and supports for them to take at home and use that as a way to help support their learning. Not necessarily make that a mandatory component of the grade.
You know, I have a number of issues with this and a number of questions, but it's getting late, so
We'll be around, Mr.
save
Perino.
save that for later. I also have issues on eliminating Regents exams, but we'll save that for another time. You have to remember that we're not only in competition with students in New York State, are not only in competition with other districts, but we're in competition with other states, and we're in competition with the world. So, and unfortunately, United States as a whole, our educational system does not rank that highly compared to other countries who spend a lot more time, students spend a lot more time in school and doing work out of school. So I guess we'll have some other discussions on this.
I think too, just to kind of, you know, I think it's hard sometimes to separate the grade book versus teaching pedagogy, but there are two separate things too, right? And so when we think about the instruction, the best practices, research-based, they are separate. It's hard to parse that sometimes. We're thinking about these different gradable, equitable practices, but it's important to note that.
I just want to be clear, though, like, I didn't mean to say that we wouldn't be doing Regents exams. As long as the New York State Education Department makes that a required part of high school diploma pathway, we will be complying with those. But I'm talking about the pathway that the New York State Education Department is moving towards in considering the elimination of them, not that we wouldn't do them.
understand
Yeah,
that,
okay.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I think our earlier conversation before the meeting about our presentation at the school board's conference down in the city, where we are going to take a look at our resolution about diversity and equity and stuff. I think adding this as a grading equity as part of that presentation doesn't mean we have to elaborate on it, but as part of the process, I think it would be a nice touch, especially, you know, you talk about homework and how, you know, some of our scholars don't have the same support, either through whether it's parental support or whether it's infrastructure support in their homes to do the same type of homework as everybody else does, but then be expected to be graded on it the same as everybody else. I think there's an inherent inequity there that this helps address. Again, not saying that, you know, you can have a long-term assignment that goes over months, let's say, as part of a homework that is more palatable where, you know, somebody can have time to go to the library or have a parent drive them somewhere. But I think if we can incorporate that as part of our overall picture in our presentation to the State School Boards Association, I think that would be good. And, you know, I understand, and I'm not going to get as political as Mr. Perino, but I'll still, you know, everybody likes to talk about other countries, but for some reason or another, they all come back to us for a reason, you know. Our that's why we have public education system, and that's why we always have to fight tooth and nail for it, because all of our kids in this country have the K through 12 public education. Whether you're talking about China or India or whatever, not every one of we see their brightest often. And oh, by the way, they come here to educate themselves in the secondary level. But not all of their population, which is 4 times larger than ours, have the ability to go and get educated. So it's, you know, I don't think you can compare apples to apples. Yeah, do they have bright students? Yeah, but they also have over 1 billion people there, and we have 400 million, so there's a
And the
disparity there.
unfortunate part is that we're competing, we are competing, we'll be competing against these countries.
Yeah, but we have several million versus not everybody there goes to school.
And I think like what you're mentioning though, about adding that to the component to the New York State School Boards Association is a wonderful opportunity too, because I think the work that the team is doing, it's important to identify that equitable grading practices are not just about cultural perspectives. It's about the way our scholars learn and who our young people are. And when we think about our mission and, you know, the work that we do here, you know, we need to make sure that equitable grading practices apply to every young person, including our special education students.
No, I think that's great. Thank you for your work, because that's not easy to tackle grading inequities by any means. And I just mentioned, I just saw something fly because we're big into diversity and everything. But our friend Mr. Willie Mays has passed away tonight. So
Oh, my
I just wanted
gosh.
I just saw that coming across. So.
After those rosebuds. Wow.
I'll say to what you were saying about the presentation to the to NYSBA, to the School Board Association. That was part of the conversation that we had too when we were in pre-agenda, and we were talking about this particular presentation tonight. Those talking points. What I you know, even going further back, but going back to even when we came together in our strategic planning some years ago, these were some of the things that came to light. And even prior to that, I think that COVID amplified the need for us to move in this direction. It really amplified the need of showing the the inequitability.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
remember sitting at a board meeting at BOCES during COVID, and I said, obviously you don't want to go through a situation like we went through that period, but what it did allow is the opportunity for school districts to become creative and changing their mindset and doing things differently so it matched the reality of the situation now. And I think that's, kids are learning much differently now. For us to grade 0 to 100 like we did back in the early 1900s, things it has to catch up.
They're learning differently, and their circumstances are different. Their environments. Why I think everything has its similarities in from generation to generation. I think that one of the things that when I look at the young people today is that many of them are probably further ahead or know more things than we knew at that same age. You talked about being at Twin Towers in the early 80s. I was at Twin Towers, 76, 77, 77, 78. I'm telling my age. And when I look at the district, when I looked at not just this district, but when I look all around, but specifically this district, it's so different. It's so much different. And these kids have experienced so much more than we experienced at that age. And it is incumbent on us as an educational institution to make sure that we are relevant to the season that we're living in, and this is even going to have to change in other ways and other directions as we go further down the line over the years. And I think Paula says it all the time. We've always been ahead of the curve, and these are the things that a lot of people don't see. And I'll add this real quick, but these are the things that people don't see because we talk about all the other stuff that happens, but this is what Middletown does. This is what Middletown does. We're looking at equitable ways to help our young people be able to learn and to grow ways that's going to reach them where they're at so that they can become what the mission statement says, lifelong learners. So I applaud you all. Thank you for your work. It's so vitally important, and we're sitting here at the table, and while some of us are educators and some of us are not educators, and some, at the end of the day, you guys are the practitioners, the boots on the ground, and I applaud you for all the work, and while you're teaching students, you're teaching us as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else has anything? No. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Oh, you could. That was good.
Reminders? Sorry.
Just want to make sure we remind our community that there is a pretty vibrant local discussion happening right now about the temperature and potential closings of schools and early releases. Remind our valued community that all of the spaces in Middletown City School District are air conditioned, so the concerns over temperatures should be monitored by our teams, but would not put us in a situation where we would need to be canceling school, closing, or dismissing early. So please refer to the already board-approved calendar with regards to what the next several days look like. And then if I could just get to our announcement for popsicles, playgrounds, and parks, please. So we were trying to think as an administrative team of how we could continue to use our voice in the community to create connections. And so we have picked 4 dates where our teams will be out in the parks and playgrounds in the community in the city of Middletown and the town of Walk Hill. We'll be there from 2:15 to 3 p.m. We are going to have popsicles and treats available to kind of cool off this summer, meet some administrators outside of our campuses and our professional perceptions here, and we will be out in the community hoping to see everybody, so please join us. And then I just want to put out a really early save the date. We have been planning for our open house events, and it's something that I know people love to mark on the calendars. So please go ahead and look for communication from us on our open house events that will take place to kick off the 24-25 school year. You'll see that information on our website and on our Facebook page. And that's it.
Just, Mr. Bison was inquiring. Stephen, so is that the one across from College Hill Apartments? The park?
No.
Which one is
That's Benny Hill.
Stevens?
Mrs. Crawford, that one is in the town of Walk Hill because we're
Stevens Hill's the
addressing town of Walk Hill and city of Middletown.
Gotcha.
Mrs. Crawford, can you let us know where that one is?
That one is in Scotchtown. It's off of Blummel, behind the church. It's right by Transformation Church on the other side, right in the middle of town of Walk Hill.
Great, thank you.
All right. Audit Committee, Mr. Bison, Audit Committee.
The Audit Committee met on June 11th, and before I ask for the approval of the minutes, we had our internal auditor, Andy Harris, there, and he will begin next week, June 26th, to start scheduling the preliminary test work. And then the week of August 12th, he will have the final field work scheduled. And we should have our draft that will be submitted to Albany by late September. We also reviewed and approved weekly claims reports for April 19th, April 26th, May 1st, 15th, May 22nd, and May 29th, and June 5th. We reviewed the treasurer's reports for February, March, and April. I'm going to move back just for a second to item 4, because we did have members of the audit committee who submitted questions regarding the weekly claims report. And I just want to remind all board members, our district clerk sends us every week the weekly claims report. And if you have a question, please get it to either Mr. Perino. Mrs. Blumenall is leaving, but
Maybe she'll stay on the committee.
she's going to stay on the committee as the community member. And I believe Mr. Moore, who is on our audit committee, they're going to switch, Mr. Moore and Mrs. Blumenall. So get the questions into us if you have anything at all about any of the expenditures. Now I'll go back and ask for an approval of the minutes from April 9th, 2023. I need a motion. Moved by Mr. Perino, seconded by Mr. Ritt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved, the minutes are approved unanimously. Thank you very much. I look forward to whatever in July. We have not set up another schedule yet, so usually I think we meet in September, and 4 times a year. September, October, January, and April and June. So I must have thrown in one more meeting than needed.
That's right. If you threw it in, it's probably because it was needed. So that's fine. So let's go on to our roundtable. It's the last meeting of the year. I know that the hour is late, but we've been here later. So at least we're here late for good stuff. I'm gonna go roundtable. I'll start with Mr. Perino tonight.
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, because it is late, the rationale for having our graduation at 10 o'clock, I think it's a wise decision, and here's why. More often than not, when we have it in the evening, you encounter showers, bad weather for some reason, whatever reason. Having it at 10 o'clock, we can sort of wait out any showers that come in, because the field, hopefully, unless it's a torrential downpour all day, hopefully the field dries very quickly. It's designed to do that for athletic events. So I just think that was a good decision. It's nice to try that, and we'll go on from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rett.
I have nothing. I want to pass my time on to Paula. So at the end of the day, this is her last session, and I'm going to miss her on my left-hand side here. I just want to take the time to say that your impartiality, that's one thing I gathered through my whole first year. I mean, it's really comforting, and it's appreciated, and it's going to be missed. I hope we can bring some more people in that have that type of demeanor.
I hope so too. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mrs. Blumenau. I mean, not Mrs. Blumenau. I've got you, Mrs. Blumenau, on the brain. Mr. Bison.
I really don't have anything. I just want to say, you you will be missed, but we're keeping her on the audit committee, so she'll still be around.
She'll still be around.
And for the policy committee too.
Community members on the policy committee.
Mr. Estrada?
So a couple things. One, for graduation, I know, please, parents, beginning now, I don't know when they're going to start, but on the website, please look at the website for information about graduation. Don't wait until the last minute. Parking, as usual, will be difficult. So I believe we have parking available at the fairgrounds and at Carter Elementary with shuttles going there. My personal opinion, don't even try to park at the high school, even though, you know, there might be some spots there early. But, you know, and also please be respectful of our residential neighbors. Do not park in in front of their driveways. You know, it is 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, which means people work in the community. So please be respectful as you're parking and also making your way to and from the stadium. I also do want to thank administration. We were blessed to have these beautiful bags with our names. Of course, it doesn't have my first name, which means that when I get home, likely that another Estrada will take this for their own personal use. But I'm going to try to hold on to it as long as I can. Now for Mrs. Blumenau, who I have known since probably our early teenage years when we used to attend bar mitzvahs and of the like, and how the good Lord sometimes puts weird families together, a Puerto Rican family and a Jewish family, and who have known each other for over 40 years now. And were neighbors at one point. Both of our kids, all four of our kids, grew up together in the same neighborhood right across the street from each other. And except for Mrs. Mortolero, who I see over there, I've probably known you the longest of anyone else sitting at in this building. So, yeah. So there is nothing I can say that is ever going to meet what I wish to express. My love for you as an individual, my respect for you as a strong Jewish woman, advocating not only for her interests, but for everybody's interests at this table, which is what we're all here for. You are the epitome of a school board member. You are the epitome of a strong woman. You're the epitome of a kind-hearted human being. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for guiding me through this, as well as my personal life as well. And that's all I got to say.
Yes, Paula, yes.
Hard act to follow there, Mr. Estrada. Thank you.
I have 40 years,
Yeah. You got a little bit of a jump on me. Firstly, I just want to congratulate the district as a whole for in the classroom, on the fields, on the courts. It was just a stellar year. Really quickly, so I see Stefan and Aaron. I always remember them coming into the barbershop as little guys. Believe it, if you believe it or not, Stefan was little. So, yeah, for a little while. The whole family, the whole Montreat family used to come in the shop. Got to cut his hair a couple times. I cut Aaron for years, and he graced my chair. We know that was a little complicated at times. Not in my chair, but in other people's chair. But me and Aaron had a good connection. And just to see these guys thrive and go on to college, it's an amazing feeling. It's a great feeling. So, you know, salute to all the athletes, but those two in particular, knowing them from so young, you know, and seeing them grow up to be great young men is, that's refreshing. Secondly, I want to say happy birthday to my dad. 71. If I got that number wrong, I'm sorry, Dad. I'm trying to keep up. Freddie Lee Williams Sr., I am a junior. So, you know, happy birthday, Dad. Love you. Love what you've done for me and supported me through the years and being a big support with the school board. My dad and my mom have been very supportive, so I want to, you know, give them a shout out and tell them I love them. And moving on to the lady of the evening, really way beyond that. But Paula, you've been so inspirational in my walk. I think so. We met in the last year of your third term, because I came in 2020. And, you know, I just have some words I wrote down to kind of express what kind of person you are. So, genuine, supportive, knowledgeable, compassionate, consistent, patient, and grace. And there's so many other words that I had in my head, but, you know, we're already running late. But all those words, you know, wrapped up into one. You've been a true blessing to the board, to myself. So I just have one demand. You can change your seat, just don't change your number. Because I'll still be texting and calling you. All right, so love you, appreciate everything you've done, and you know, get some time back, you know, and but don't go too far. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna. I told you I'm gonna let you go last, so I'm gonna say what I gotta say. Well, first of all, as we're coming down to the end of this school year, I want to thank the administration and all of the staff, our faculty, our staff. I've been saying this for years. You guys know this. I've been saying this for years. I don't consider this organization up, down. I consider us side by side. Everybody that works in this district is valuable. It doesn't matter what position you hold. And so I want to congratulate our entire Middletown staff and community on getting down to the end of this year. Yes, with challenges. Yes, with some struggles. Yes, with some things that we've all had to experience this year and even in previous years. But we've made it. We're here, and we're better for it. We've dealt with crises, but every crisis is an opportunity, and I believe that we're all better for it. Life is full of struggles, and but you know, no test, no testimony. So we've made it through. We've made it through to this point. And so I want to commend everybody, our superintendent, on doing such an amazing job on this past year. To this Board of Education, I thank you for allowing me to sit in this seat this year and for working with me in so many of the different things. I think we've worked very well together. I love this board. You guys are not just my colleagues, but I consider you friends, family, and I'm very grateful to be able to sit at this table with you all as we work together. We've had some challenges this year, but we've made it through. And I think that it's important for us to always just be authentic. We all bring something different to the table, and that's what makes us strong. Real quick, I'll take 40 seconds, and I'll take a minute to talk about Paula, but Fred was talking about these kids, and I've enjoyed watching all these young people grow up. I think this year is really exciting to me because many of the young people that are going to graduate this year, I've seen and had them even in preschool. And so, you know, I've asked them to pull a certain number of diplomas that I'm going to hand sign for these families that I've known for all these years. And so I'm excited about this graduation, not just for my son, but for everybody. Now, Mrs. Blumenau, everybody said all these wonderful words, and they are all true. You know, Fred said he jotted down some names. I started to go through I started to play around and say for a second, P stands for this, A stands for this. But at the end of the day, Paula, I think the only word that that I can use to describe you is wonderful. You are a wonderful individual, a wonderful person, and I don't think that people who don't know you, they're missing out. People who have not taken the opportunity to get to know the person that you are, the compassion that you have, the work that you do. that's not work. It's just a part of your very fiber of your being. I think if people took time to get to know that, they would know just what we know, just how wonderful you really are. And so I am going to miss you. We've been together. I'm taking presidential privilege for 30 seconds. You have been you have been valuable to this board. You've been valuable to this board. Your perspective has been unparalleled, and we're going to miss you at this table. And I can say this. We can't say that about everybody. We can't say that about everybody. Everybody brings value, but the value that you bring has been unparalleled. And so, while I understand that you're taking some time, I want you to rest and regenerate and take this time, but know that beyond the Board of Education, your family. And I just want you to know how much I love you, and I'm grateful for you, grateful that our paths cross, and grateful that we've worked together, but more grateful that we're friends. So whatever you do over this next year, enjoy it. Now, Mrs. Blumenauer is going to get the last words for the meeting.
The great thing about getting the last word is, you get the last word, but the room is cleared out, right? But I'm preaching to the choir tonight. Thank you so much for all of your heartfelt words. It really means so much to be valued and to feel that value at this table, and that is part of why I've stayed for 12 years. But let me just, I did write some notes down, and please bear with me for a few minutes. President John Williams, Vice President Freddie Williams, Superintendent Amy Creedon, our school administrative cabinet, fellow board members. This school district has had its eyes wide open to the struggles of our families for a long time. In retrospect, I'm equally proud of all the tools we've established, not only in the classrooms, but also outside of them. Our connection to the larger community has grown exponentially. Learning in school is only part of the equation. I see this district providing needed opportunities for support by building family awareness, by encouraging understanding, building growth. I'm so proud of how far the original vision and this growing vision, ongoing vision, has come. And I know it's only the tip of the iceberg. I always feel like it's only the tip of the iceberg. I'm finishing my 4th term as a school board trustee, and yes, I decided to step away from this table for now. I know all of you are like, oh, she'll be back, but it's okay for now. And people ask me why. Why now? Why didn't you stick around? You can stay as long as you want. I feel that there is some truth to that. You do have to get elected. But I trust that we're headed in the right direction. And the individuals that lead this community are collectively true to the mission of this district. Is Middletown perfect? Absolutely not. You hear us say it all the time. Obviously not, because we keep working for perfection. But we strive to build a community where positive input is welcome and encouraged. I hope one day we will be able to meet every family's challenge, every student's challenge, meet everyone's needs, desires, wants, to-do list. But until we do, it's okay. We're creating an environment that honors equity and inclusion, diversity. We've been erasing the feel of poverty. And that's hard work. Great opportunities create great accomplishments. We know that. And we're creating them every day. I want to take a moment just to say thank you. I first want to acknowledge Mr. Griffith, who was the first principal I met at Chorley School when my children entered kindergarten, my son Tyler, who entered kindergarten at Chorley. And he said, I'd love you to be a part of our school improvement team. And so I said, okay, what is, I hear what that is, not realizing like I'm walking into school and that now we want to improve it. Okay. So I was on board, and that was in 1998. My son Tyler was in kindergarten, and that's where I found out that my voice mattered, that I could make a difference, and that all parents' voices mattered. And so as a community member from that day, I stayed involved at the school level, team booster clubs, PTA, but what really got me hooked, I'm going to take last meeting privilege. What really got me hooked
Presidential privilege.
was flash forward, because I'm not going to do, my whole, 28 years here in Middletown. Flash forward 9 years later, I was heading up the Parents Club at the high school with some really great friends and strong people that were around me. And I was also invited to, as part of that president's position, was invited to Ken Eastwood's president's roundtable. And so we would meet, the presidents of the Parents Clubs would meet. And it didn't take long for me to understand that there was a bigger picture, that there was a plan. And this district was headed to greatness. And I knew that. And I knew my kids were here. I was working hard. I was making sure that they were doing okay. But I knew that this was a big picture, and I really wanted to be a part of it. So I started showing up at the board meetings and just talking about what was going on in the high school, and I was bringing anybody who would come and talk at the high school parents club about this district and what the great things were that we were doing and what the vision was. I invited them to come and talk. And up until that point, it really was like a fundraising group that would just throw the party at the end of the year. And then into that, I started going so in the school board meetings, then they were called the Middletown Circus. And a few years later, I got a call from Marty Zulugatz, and he said, I think you should run for the school board. Now, we've got a plan, so this is going to be for next year. So I said, okay, if that's the plan, I joined this community group with, again, my group of Middletown friends, and we started working for the district to really make, from the parents' perspective, the community perspective, build this board. And I think we did a good job, because here I still am. And then in 2011, I was unopposed. I walked on the board and found my seat here. And I did have to run the other three terms, but I stayed because the work for me made sense. I spent a lot of time focused on the state funding of our schools. I spent a lot of time New York State School Boards Association. There was a time when I thought I would be a leader and sit at that seat, but that just wasn't in the cards for me. As my good friend Ed mentioned, I did have other, I was the president of Temple Sinai for 4 years, and that just kept me from taking other leadership roles in the things I was interested in. But that's okay, and anyone who has sat there has trusted me, and I have felt your trust as a president, as a vice president, whoever was leading at the time. So I didn't need to be a leader. I didn't need to be the president. I just felt good to be part of the table, part of the process. So I want to say, just finish up by just saying thank you to a few people, a few groups of people. First, I want to say thank you to those who come and sit at this table, those who come to the podium and speak. Keep coming, keep sharing ideas, offer solutions, keep it positive. Come with solutions, not just problems. We know the problems. Keep coming. Thank you to my husband, Eric, who couldn't be here tonight, and my sons, Tyler and Seth, and the rest of my family for always supporting Why Do I Do This? Thank you to our technology team for putting us on the air, keeping us on the air, the grounds teams for setting up our rooms and making sure we're comfortable, and our community liaisons, Kevin and Caroline, for covering our meetings and being here always. Thank you to our food service who always provide us with a healthy meal to start, because these are, as you can see, long nights sometimes. Thank you to our security team for keeping us safe, sometimes more than others. We've had some challenges, so thank you. Thank you to Crystal Monchery, our district clerk. You have been such a pleasure to work with. And to our previous district clerks, also thank you for all of your help and support. And thank you to the visionaries, past, present, and future, who are invested, and they've invested their lives and their careers in this great district. Thank you to my good friends in this small but very huge community for supporting me and allowing me the opportunity to serve. And I will be forever grateful for your support. Thank you. Last word.
Well, that
Only one person can make the motion to adjourn, and it's not Mr.
yet, but
Bison today.
wait till I ask. You're gonna let me ask. You're gonna give me an opportunity on the last of the meeting to ask. But the next meeting of the Board of Education will be Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024 at 6:30. We'll see you here in a couple of weeks. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved, seconded by Mr. Rhett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nobody. We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
And thank Fran Mortarella for being here. Fran, did you hear that?